Late at night, a train clatters along the tracks, its windows glowing. Akihito Machida, 24, gives a long, tired sigh. Slumped in his seat, he looks exhausted after working 33 days in a row. Memories of the office chaos linger, but he focuses on his day off tomorrow. He imagines a peaceful camping trip in nature to refresh himself. The crushing weight of his fatigue pulls him towards sleep. Sleepiness settles in as he thinks about finally resting at home. His awareness sinks into the blackness of a deep, dreamless sleep. The train's sudden stop jolts him awake, his eyes wide with alarm. Panic rushes over him when he realizes he completely overslept and missed his stop. Alone on a desolate platform, he watches the train doors hiss shut and pull away. A cold wind sweeps through the dark, empty station while he tries to figure out where he is. He looks up at a worn sign that says Zoragi, a station name he's never heard. Confused and exhausted, he assumes he must have boarded the wrong train. Scanning the station, he grows uneasy as he realizes it is completely unmanned. Shrugging off the odd feeling, he grabs his phone to check his location. His heart drops when his phone displays out of service, leaving him completely cut off. Finding no timetable, he steps outside to get his bearings. He steps into a dark forest and uses his phone's dim flashlight to see. 2 hours later, he drops to his knees, hopeless and completely lost. A bead of sweat forms on his brow as he looks up and realizes something is terribly wrong. Far off, he sees a faint light at the entrance of a dark tunnel. Believing it's the exit, he walks toward the light. Stepping into the cavern, his phone's light barely cuts through the oppressive darkness. A strange electronic chime sounds, and he looks at his phone, confused. While he thinks he hears the tide, a blinding light suddenly appears before him. A powerful blast erupts from the tunnel, knocking him off his feet. Everything blurs into streaks of light as he hurtles through space. Landing in a new place, he is completely disoriented and mutters that it must be a lie. He stands on a rocky cliff above the sea, surprised to find it's daytime. Alarmed, he looks down and sees his suit has become sturdy outdoor gear. Spinning around, he looks for the tunnel he just left, but it is gone. A hard pinch on his cheek and the sharp sting tell him this is not a dream. Facing the crashing waves, he accepts the terrifying reality of his situation. A sound behind him is met by a soft, hesitant voice. Startled, he jumps and lets out a short yelp as he turns around. A strange floating pink object shaped like a drill catches his eye. Before him stands a breathtakingly beautiful girl in an ornate dress with golden twin tails. Completely captivated, he thinks she is an incredibly beautiful girl. A young woman comes up and asks with concern if he is all right. Snapping out of his daze, he bows deeply and apologizes for staring while lost. With a kind smile, she reassures him that it's understandable after what happened. She says her ship was wrecked in a storm and she washed ashore here. Akihito is stunned to realize he is talking to a real shipwreck survivor. He says he arrived through a tunnel, but she looks confused. Realizing how crazy he sounds, he scratches his head and can't find the right words. Remembering her manners, she notes they haven't introduced themselves yet. Bowing gracefully, she introduces herself as Olivia of the half-payment marquisate. Introducing himself as Akihito Machida, he assumes her noble title is just part of a character persona. When Olivia asks where he is from, he says Japan, a name that is completely foreign to her. She apologizes politely for not knowing, and he thinks to himself how kind she is. He asks whether she has any idea where this island might be. She said she was traveling from the Legman Kingdom to marry the Prince of Nissel. Fanciful names Marquisate, Kingdom, and Prince make Akihito dizzy. Olivia laughs and points out they are both in the same predicament, and Akihito finally realizes the truth. Horror dawns as he realizes he has somehow wandered into another world. He immediately jumps to a familiar trope and wonders where his promised cheat skills are. He suffers a dramatic internal breakdown, mourning that no goddess has granted him powers. Olivia steadies him and suggests they look for other survivors. Now framing it in fantasy terms, he asks whether jobs and skills exist here. Confirming they do, she proudly says her own job is Holy Knight. He takes it back, surprised the delicate-looking girl is in a physical combat class. She says it's easy to check his status and urges him to try. Despite his nerves, he closes his eyes and recites the words, "Status open." A glowing translucent screen appears out of nowhere, startling him. Disbelief widened his eyes when the job title showed just one word, camper. Staring at the screen, he is completely confused about what kind of job a camper is. Reviewing his status, he notes his name, his distinct role, and his 5 starting points. Exploring the skill tree, he sees a list of abilities he can unlock with points. A camp item exchange tab catches his eye, and he wonders what it does. He reads his skill details and learns he earns points every day and levels up by camping. Tapping the item tab reveals a large catalog of camping gear and excites him. Deciding how to spend his 5 points, he weighs skills against items. Olivia leans in, smiling, and asks if he's figured out his job. With his status screen still visible, he says he seems to be a camper. Puzzled, Olivia admits she's never heard of that profession. He enthusiastically says that camping is about enjoying nature and cooking outdoors. While he talks about sitting by a campfire under the stars, Olivia watches with sparkling eyes. Sheepishly, he admits that all his knowledge comes from watching online videos. Knowing he has more to offer, she urges him to stop being modest. Clasping her hands, she gives him a bright, confident smile, sure he will become great. Her smile makes him recoil, convinced it could kill. She asks what he can do, and he gets flustered, assuming her boyfriend must be a prince. Apologizing, he says he hasn't spent any skill points yet. She tells him that how he spends his points will determine his entire life here. He looks at his screen again and realizes how powerful gaining 4 points every day is. As they set off, he decides to spend 1 point to raise his basic physical strength. They walk through a dense forest as sunlight filters through the tall trees. Gnarled roots and thick undergrowth tangle across the forest floor. After a long search, they find no sign of anyone else. Noting they haven't found anyone, he watches Olivia begin to stumble from exhaustion. Noticing her struggle, he confidently tells her not to worry and that he will get them water. He simply points to his item exchange menu when she asks about water magic. A sudden flash of light, and he pulls a large water container from his menu. A brand new 20-liter water tank, full to the brim, appears at his feet. Proudly showing her the spigot, he says it's the camper's incredible power. Olivia is overjoyed and gratefully accepts the offered fresh water. A sudden, crucial realization stops her smile. With a sheepish look, she turns to him and asks whether he has a cup. Akito's triumphant expression changes to pure shock at his simple oversight. Akihito carefully weighs the cost of a cup against their future needs. Olivia, practical as always, says she'll drink straight from the spigot. You turn the spigot, and a precious stream of clean water begins to flow. Leaning forward to take her first drink, the rushing water splashes everywhere. The noble woman immediately chokes and sputters violently from the powerful stream. Embarrassed, she begs him to look away as he hands her a freshly summoned cup. He wishes he had summoned the more versatile Sierra cup right from the start. Now fully recovered, Olivia is amazed by what she thinks is a legendary skill. Akito explains he exchanged points rather than using an actual storage skill. She insists his ability is extremely rare, with only 1 in 30,000 having it. Akihito is shocked to discover his simple skill is regarded as legendary in this world. Excitedly, he explains that his ability to exchange items isn't limited to water. Proudly, he shows the catalog of modern camping gear available to him. Olivia falls silent, stunned by the sheer range of possibilities he offers. She is amazed by how powerful his job as a camper is, something entirely new to her. Akihito flushes with pride and is not used to such high praise. His anxiety about a job that seems useless begins to give way to confidence. With renewed purpose, he says they will face this challenge together. Touched by his sincerity, Olivia gently asks him to be her friend. Agreeing without hesitation, he asks her to call him Akihito. With a firm handshake, they sealed their new partnership and friendship. Dusk falls and they know it's time to prepare for the night. Akihito picks a clearing for their campsite, giving Olivia a new experience. He's worried the sheltered noblewoman will be scared to sleep outdoors. Olivia is excited, not afraid, about the adventure of camping. Assigned to gather firewood, she rushes into the woods with great enthusiasm. A loud commotion rises from the forest while Olivia gathers the wood. Waiting, he hears Olivia call from the trees. Effortlessly, she comes back, carrying a log much too large for an average person. Dumbfounded, Akihito watches her hold up the massive log. Calmly, he explains that the wood needs to be smaller to burn properly. Olivia understands his instructions, smiling with cheer and determination. A sharp crack splits the enormous log in half as she snaps it with her hands. His face is frozen in disbelief as he tries to process what he just saw. She gently explains that it's just a basic Holy Knight skill called Barehanded Blade. Privately, he calls her the Drill and the Princess as he wonders about this world's nobles. Although surprised, he realizes he doesn't dislike her impressive strength. Sudden rustling in the nearby undergrowth cuts through the quiet moment. Akihito spins around, senses on high alert after the sudden noise. A massive wolf-like beast barrels into the clearing, terrifying Akihito. Olivia calmly identifies the creature as a devil rat, which shocks him. Stepping in front of him, she shields him and warns that it has a deadly bite. Eyes closed, she begins to chant, drawing in radiant holy energy. Eyes snap open as she says the last line of the incantation. Akihito watches in awe, waiting for a powerful burst of divine magic. Rather than using magic, she lunges forward and obliterates the monster with a single punch. He is stunned by the sudden, brutal display of physical force. Olivia bows deeply to apologize, leaving Akihito completely confused. She regrets that the branch she used as a weapon broke on impact. She blames her inexperience, but he notes the shattered wood will make good kindling. The fine, dry kindling she made is ideal for starting a fire, he explains. Her mood immediately shifts from dejection to a delighted realization. Praising his superior knowledge makes him protest awkwardly. The encounter confirms the grim truth that monsters exist in this world. Taking in the forest, he fully accepts that he is in a fantasy world. He realizes he must get his own weapon quickly to survive. Once the kindling is ready, the next step is to light the fire. Confidently, Akihito says he will start the fire. To earn a single point, he conjures a plain disposable lighter with a triumphant grin. He explains how the lighter works, and Olivia immediately assumes it is a magic item. He asks her to add more of her carefully prepared kindling to the fire. Cheerful and energetic, she adds the wood until it forms a huge pile. One simple click brings the flame to the tinder. Flames leap to life, and they both cheer at their shared success. A profound satisfaction fills him, something that had been missing from his corporate life for a long time. Once the adrenaline fades, Olivia grows somber and appears distressed. Her mention of the betrothal leaves Akihito flustered and apologetic. Awkward silence fills the room as Akihito questions his own emotional response. Focusing on their situation, he brings up his status screen. He knows he can't ask Olivia to stand guard against monsters all night. He knows their immediate safety matters more than food. He steels himself, knowing he must spend his last points to protect them. Watching the crackling flames, Olivia is lost in thought. Turning, she catches his eye, her expression soft in the firelight. Smiling calmly, she admits that despite everything, she had fun. Her unexpected confession takes him completely by surprise. She credits him with her unexpected enjoyment of their difficult day. Looking back on the day, he remembers everything from monsters to setting up camp. His eyes fill with quiet understanding when he looks at her. He watches the fire's comforting warmth and feels the same peace. He quietly admits he felt the same about their day. A warm, sincere smile spreads across his face as he agrees with her. They pause for a quiet moment of understanding and mutual happiness. His eyes fall on the two remaining points, his mind made up. Determined to safeguard their fragile peace, he knows which skill to choose. Olivia notices his sudden change in mood and gives him a questioning look. He uses his final 2 points to unlock the base camp blessing skill. Slamming his hand on the ground, he declares the clearing their official campsite. A bright wave of light spreads outward and forms a protective barrier. Standing tall, he promises to embrace his new life and enjoy his adventure. At their new sanctuary, they plan for the next day. At the edge of the light, pairs of predatory eyes watch them from the darkness. Unseen creatures fill the forest, kept at bay only by his skill. Their small, glowing camp stands as a tiny beacon of safety in the vast wilderness. A flag marks their territory, a sign of his new identity and purpose. After they were safe, a more mundane problem appeared. Akihito clutches his stomach and finally realizes just how hungry he is. He remembers the day's chaos during his grueling work schedule before he arrived. Desperate, he hopes his daily points will solve their looming food crisis. Thinking of Olivia, he knows she must be hungry too. Olivia nervously calls Akihito's name as the campfire fades. The flames are getting smaller and smaller, she points out. Akihito turns, worried about what will happen if the fire goes out. Terror widens Olivia's eyes as she imagines the suffocating darkness. Noticing her trembling, he he realizes she is afraid of the dark. Stammering, she says anyone would be scared in that creepy forest. Akihito smiles warmly and reassures her that it will be okay. His gentle expression makes her briefly speechless and surprised. He says if the flames are weak, they can add small twigs. He asked her to gently place a few thin branches on the embers. Gently, she adds the kindling to the last of the glowing coals. Suddenly, the fire flares back to life, bright and strong. Olivia's gas sector rejoices as Akihito declares their success. She praises his amazing camping skills and is impressed by the result. Playfully, she adds more wood and promises not to be defeated by the fire's ash. Laughing, she rubs some smoke from her eyes. Akihito watches, relieved to see her spirits return. Noticing she seemed tired, he suggested they rest. Olivia suddenly lines toward him, and her demeanor shifts. She formally announces she is the prince's fiancée and will sleep nearby. Akihito is utterly baffled by her sudden, bizarre declaration. In a dramatic voice, she declares she cannot possibly use her hyper-aura sword. Smiling slyly, she thinks it might be fun to be his girlfriend. Akihito panics and frantically insists he doesn't have those thoughts. She apologizes for the joke, and he tells her it's nothing to worry about. Relieved, she smiles and calls him a fine person, leaving him feeling oddly guilty. Akihito gathers a bundle of dry grass to make beds for the night. Both lie down on separate makeshift beds of leaves. Akihito hears her soft giggle and looks over with a questioning glance. He asks what's so funny, and she admits she finds it strange. Stranded and hungry, she finds herself feeling excited. Smiling brightly, she says this is her first truly free night. Her heartfelt words strike a chord with the overworked salaryman. Agreeing, he realizes he hasn't felt this unburdened in a long time. Gazing upward, his eyes widen and a sudden, deep awe fills him. The star-filled night sky captivates him. Smiling, he thinks how rare it is to have this view all to himself. The next morning, bright sunlight pours through the forest canopy. Akihito sits up and stretches, while Olivia still sleeps soundly nearby. Breathing in the fresh air, he thinks how great it is to wake up at a campsite. First, he checks his points by opening his status screen. A grin spreads as his special skill grants him 4 new points. He waits to use his points until Olivia wakes up. Next, he goes to check their precious water supply in the tank. A tap on the container brings relief as he finds it completely full. Olivia calls his name as he checks the spigot. Sitting up, she rubs the sleep from her eyes and says good morning to him. Akihito freezes for a moment when he sees her without her signature drill hairstyle. Visibly flustered, he turns away quickly and pretends to check his status again. He tells her the water has been refilled and she can use it. When she is ready, he tells her he will make breakfast for them. Scrolling through his skill tree, he sees the camp food knowledge option. He imagines all the tasty meals he could make if he had the ingredients. He decides not to, since it's too risky without any food. Olivia, fully dressed and styled, tells him she is ready. Her noble bearing has fully returned, dazzling Akihito. For a moment, he is stunned by how quickly she returns to her usual self. Ignoring his hunger, he promises to get their meal. He uses the food gacha to grab something they can eat right away. Tapping the screen, he hopes to find something that needs no cooking. Spend 1 point and a small white cooler box appears. Leaning forward, he and Olivia hold their breath as the lid pops open. Inside are 2 convenience store rice balls, 1 tuna mayo and 1 salmon. They sit down and Akihito says they look delicious. Olivia examines the odd triangular object and asks whether it is food. Trying to take a bite, she wonders how to eat it without utensils. Akihito stops her quickly and shows her how to open the plastic wrapper. Fascinated, she watches him demonstrate the proper technique. Filled with anticipation, they get ready to take their first bite. Cautiously, Olivia tastes the unfamiliar bowl of rice. Akihito takes a bite, and his eyes widen with pure delight. Both of them say at once that the simple meal is really delicious. Tears filled his eyes because he'd never tasted an onigiri so good. Olivia loves the savory filling and the crisp seaweed. Akihito finishes his meal, grateful but wishing he had another serving. He smiles warmly when Olivia asks for another one. After breakfast, he tells them it's time to begin the day's activities. Looking toward the coast, he states their first objective. A tall plume of smoke rises from the signal fire they have built. Olivia watches, unsure what a signal fire is. Akihito warns it could alert passing ships to their position. Next, he outlines their other goals, finding people, food, and water. He also says they must wash their own clothes. Scratching his shoulder, he admits he's desperate for a bath after 2 days. They press deeper into the dense, rustling forest. While he struggles with the vines, Olivia confidently tells him to leave it to her. Unleashing her Vance skill, she blasts a perfectly clear path ahead. Akihito is amazed, as Olivia coyly calls it a lady's grace. Leading the way cheerfully, she is amazed at the power of her skill. Her elegant boot lands firmly on the newly cleared forest floor. They keep walking, but the woods are silent, and Akihito hears nothing. Closing her eyes, Olivia activates her hearing enhancement. Her senses widen, letting her hear sounds far beyond the normal range. A twitch in her ear shows she is listening intently to a distant sound. She confirms she hears flowing water and points them the right way. They move quickly through the trees, following her lead. Bursting into a clearing, they found a clear, fast-flowing stream. On the bank, Akihito notices that the stream looks unnaturally wide. Olivia is surprised when he suggests the river's course could be artificial. They choose to follow the stream, cautious of the rough terrain ahead. Deep in the forest, Akihito senses an ominous presence and reminds himself to be cautious. He warns Olivia they must stay alert because they don't know what might be hiding here. Following a stream, they see something unusual in a clearing ahead, and Akihito wonders what it is. He notices several cleanly cut tree stumps and realizes someone has been working here. Olivia notes that fallen trees have been used to build a dam across the river. She spots another clearing over a small rise, and Akihito confirms he can see it. Both watch, their faces showing a mix of surprise and wonder at their discovery. In the clearing sits a quaint cottage nestled among a grove of giant whimsical mushrooms. Olivia says it looks like a fairy's house. Akihito points out it's too small for humans. She imagines it could be the home of storybook gnomes. Akihito realizes the person living in this house must have cut down the trees. The small cottage door creaks as it begins to swing open. Akihito narrows his eyes, knowing they must stay on guard against whoever is inside. When the door opens, Akihito instinctively pushes Olivia behind him to protect her. A small bipedal cat in clothes with a satchel steps forward and looks equally surprised. The creature announces that something has appeared, and Akihito is stunned to see a talking cat. The small cat person watches the two humans cautiously from the mushroom grove. Akihito wonders what this creature is. It stands upright, and he cannot tell if it is a monster. Based on how it looks, he thinks to himself, it only looks like a cat, but still. The cat calls them a strange sight, and Akihito thinks to himself that it's his line. A larger cat steps forward and tells the first to calm down. The new cat with a patched face calmly recognizes the newcomers as humans. The first cat asks whether they are really humans, while Akihito and Olivia watch. Realizing they can talk, Akihito decides to be friendly and says a cheerful hello. Tama, the first cat, is delighted because she has never seen a human's smooth face. When Akihito asks about a transaction, Buchi the patch cat begins to explain. Both of them are stunned to learn a ship visits the island once a month. Akihito feels hopeful now that they might be able to get passage on that ship. Relief brightens Olivia's face, and she is certain they can now reach the capital kingdom. Buchi asks if they've come to trade, and Tama adds that humans bring tasty food. Akihito says they were shipwrecked and washed ashore here, surprising the cats. Buchi understands, and Tama offers sympathy for their terrible ordeal. Relieved, Akihito senses these cats are kind and might help them. When he asked what this place was called, the two cats happily answered. Buchi and Tama introduced themselves as members of the Minion tribe from Marvel Island. Akihito is stunned to learn the cats are sacred beasts, and this place is their holy land. He asks whether there are any other humans here, but Buki says the traders left days ago. Akihito thanks him, realizing the ship will not return for some time. He steels his resolve to survive with Olivia, relying on his camper skills until then. Turning to Buchi and Tama, he asks where they can find food. Buchi describes how the minions fish, forage, and hunt, then trade their catches for glowing stones. Akihito asks about the stones, and Olivia identifies them as valuable magical gems. The cats say you can also find rare food in the caves, but Buchi warns that terrifying monsters lurk deep in the caves. Startled by the news, Akihito realizes he must be extremely careful. Buchi offers to lead them to the fruit groves, and Akito gratefully accepts. They follow the two minions out of the whimsical mushroom village. The group pushes through the forest's dense, rustling foliage. On a clear path, Olivia and Akihito feel grateful for all the help. The cats point out a nearby waterfall where they can bathe. Deeply moved by their kindness, Olivia feels her heart soothed by their warmth. Akihito says the ship won't be back for a while. Olivia's mood darkens as she realizes she must return to stop her family's name from being ruined. She fears her fiancé, the Prince of Nissal, might think she fled their engagement. She won't let this misunderstanding weigh on him. Akihito listens closely as a new idea begins to take shape in his mind. He notices Olivia is not very excited about her upcoming marriage. A loud rushing sound echoes through the trees ahead of them. They come upon the magnificent blue waterfall Bucci had described. Akihito says he wants to wash his hair and body, and Olivia is shocked. Incredulous, she asks if he really plans to bathe right here, and he confirms it. Olivia is deeply embarrassed by the thought of bathing outdoors in the open sun. Akihito smiles and gently explains that staying clean helps prevent illness. Even though she understands his reasoning, she is still very hesitant and flustered. Reassuring her, he says it will be fine and reminds her of her engagement to the prince. Suddenly, she says she will force anyone who spies on her to kill themselves. Akihito is surprised and explains it's something her mother used to say. Smiling, he tells her to wait because he has something that will help. He summons a towel set costing 1 point, which includes towels, toothbrushes, and razors. Holding a toothbrush in wonder, Olivia asks what items a camper can get. Grinning, he explains he can only summon items directly related to camping. Behind a large rock, he says he'll wait, and she gratefully accepts the towel. Vigorous splashes echo from the calm pool beneath the waterfall. Olivia gently dips her hand into the cool, clear water. She admits to herself she never thought she'd bathe outdoors. Sinking into the water, her long hair fans out, and she sighs at how wonderful it feels. Akihito waits calmly for her, sitting with his back against the large rock formation. A small smile crosses his face, pleased that she seems to be enjoying her bath. He wonders how her signature drill hairstyle could ever be washed. A funny image of her struggling with a washboard and stick flashes through his mind. Olivia calls out from the forest and says she is ready. When she comes out from behind the rock, Akihito turns and apologizes for the wait. Smiling, he tells her it's his turn to bathe now. With her hair down, Olivia says she'll go hunting while he washes. Her sudden declaration startled Akihito. Blushing slightly, he agrees and tells her to be careful on her way. He asks if she's really going hunting, and she confirms with a bright smile. Now that her stamina is back, she says she can no longer rely on him. Trying to protest, he insists she has already helped him enough. Cutting him off, she says firmly she will provide the meat for dinner. Feeling overwhelmed, Akihito agrees to let her handle it and says they'll meet at base camp. She agrees with a warm smile, and he returns it, trusting her. She gives a cheerful wave as he wishes her well, amazed that she can hunt too. His clothes and boots lie on the shore while he gets ready to go into the water. Splashing cool water over his head, he sighs with deep relief. Leaning back, he says it feels wonderful to finally be properly clean. A sudden loud rustle comes from the bushes right beside him. Startled, he snaps his head around to see whether it is an animal or a monster. Panicking, he realizes that without Olivia, he is a completely defenseless salaryman. Submerged in the waterfall pool, Akihito scrolls through his status screen with growing anxiety. He sees that a proper axe for machete costs 5 points, far more than he has. A sudden rustle in the bushes startles him and reminds him that danger is always present. He decides to prioritize food and laundry, especially if Olivia returns empty-handed. While drying himself, he wonders whether a noble like Olivia has ever had to do laundry. Thinking of her family's troubles, he imagines how anxious she must be. Dressed now, he thanks Olivia for all her help and knows he could not have survived on his own. Determined to ease her worries, he does everything he can before the rescue ship arrives. The thought of the ship unsettles him, and he doesn't even know how to get home. Putting his worries aside, he focuses on the present and searches for the fruit grove. He can't waste time and must find food before nightfall. Pushing through the undergrowth, he is sure he's near the spot Tama described. Entering a clearing, he looks up in awe at a single magnificent fruit tree. High branches hold fruit that looks delicious. They are mangoes, he says. Standing at the base of the massive trunk, he wonders how he could reach them. A quick check of the smooth bark shows that climbing is impossible. Searching for a tool, he is distracted by a sharp noise above. A sudden loud squawk startles him, and he looks up with wide, startled eyes. He looks around, unsure if he really heard a bird insult him. The harsh squawk rings out again, proving he wasn't imagining it. Shocked, he sees two large, imposing birds with bandanas perched on a branch. Staring in disbelief, he tries to make sense of what kind of creatures they are. A bird puffs out its chest aggressively, ready to assert dominance. Swooping to a lower branch, the creature stares at him with a menacing glare. Realizing the bird calls him small fry, he feels annoyed by its tone. The bird puffs out its chest defiantly and chirps, staring straight at him. Akihito is stunned not just by the insult, but by how foul the creature's mouth is. From their perch, the birds taunt him and offer their fruit to the small fry. They start eating the mangoes in front of him, making loud, satisfied sounds. Choosing diplomacy, he politely asked if they would share. One of the birds peers over its beak at him with a smug look, asking what it stands to gain. With nothing to offer now, he promises to repay their kindness someday. The birds look skeptical and clearly unimpressed by his empty promise. The smug bird smirks and says it might consider his request if he begs. Akihito is stunned by the creature's terrible personality, his plan, and the shambles. He sees they don't mean to help, they only want to mock and humiliate him. Seeing it as pointless, he chooses to ignore the obnoxious bullies. Irritated at being ignored, the bird tells him to go away if he doesn't want the fruit. Walking away, he hears birds overhead taunting him as small fry. They mock him for expecting their help and tell him to starve to death. Defeated, he decides it's better to risk the food gotcha than to deal with them. A sudden sound in the woods startles him, and a voice asks what is wrong. Buchi asks if he came for mangoes and notices the tired look on his face. Relief brightens Akihito's face as he sees his friendly Minion acquaintance and feels overjoyed. He recounts his frustrating encounter with two extremely foul-mouthed birds. Beauty identifies the culprits as members of the Albert tribe, a different group of sacred beasts. Buchi confirms they're known liars with bad tempers, and Akihito fully understands. When Buchi asks if humans are unable to climb, Akihito admits it's just his own weakness. Sighing, Buchi accepts that it can't be helped and prepares to solve the problem himself. Buchi climbs the tree with effortless, cat-like grace as Akihito cheers him on. Buchi returns with a jacket overflowing with ripe mangoes. Akihito thanks him warmly and promises to repay him, but Buchi has an idea. Buchi wants to eat mat and clams, and Akihito repeats the unfamiliar name. While Buchi describes the long, thin clam, Akihito realizes he knows how to catch it. Akihito promises to fetch the clams, and Buchi cheerfully tells him there is no need to hurry. Fueled by his new mission, Akihito heads to the sea right away. He fills his jacket with mangoes and decides to drop them off at camp first. The steady rhythm of waves breaking on the shore announced his arrival at the beach. Walking along the wet sand, he looks out over the vast, sparkling ocean. Scanning the ground, he quickly spots the clams' telltale holes. Crouching down, he remembers a TV show that showed how to catch them with salt. He suddenly realizes the first thing he needs is salt. A quick check of his status shows he can spend his last 2 points on a bag of salt. He chooses not to buy it and finds a more resourceful, sustainable solution. Using his last 2 points, he summons a sturdy metal cooking pot from his menu. Holding the pot aloft, he says he will make his own salt from the sea. Recalling his old science lessons, he builds a small makeshift furnace from rocks. His calculation shows 2 liters of seawater should yield about 60 grams of salt. His first try to light the damp kindling filled his face with thick smoke. Coughing and sputtering violently, he waves the acrid smoke away from his face. Rubbing his stinging eyes, he wishes he had a 1-point fire starter for Olivia. Realizing the kindling he gathered is too damp, he must find more. He sighs, frustrated that this will take a very long time. Slumping to his knees, he feels defeated and sure he's letting Buchi down. Remembering Buchi's kindness, he hadn't expected this favor in return. A steely, determined look crosses his face as he refuses to give up. Clenching his fists, he feels a fierce need to repay his friend's kindness. Re-energized, he runs back and forth to the forest, gathering more firewood. Tirelessly, he tends the fire for hours, boiling pot after pot of seawater. He vows to himself that he will definitely succeed in making the salt for his friend. At last, after a long ordeal, he sees the water thicken as salt crystals form. Triumphantly, he lifts the pot to show the small, hard pile of salt. Tasting a small pinch, he finds it salty but delicious and decides to be patient. Exhausted, he collapses onto the sand to rest after his hard work. Gazing out at the ocean, he thinks about the simple joy of making something himself. It's getting late and Olivia will be back, so he will gather the clams tomorrow. He returns to camp and finds Olivia pale. Her hair hangs limp from exhaustion. Stunned by how defeated and unwell she looks, he wonders what happened. Rushing to her side, he calls her name and asks what is wrong with her drills. Lowering her head in shame, she apologizes profusely for failing on her hunt. He gently tells her she does not need to apologize and that it is okay. She says she found a deer, but because it was a holy night, she couldn't kill it. Akihito tells her not to be so hard on herself, aware of how difficult her situation is. To cheer her up, he offers the mangoes he got from Butchai. He says they can eat one now and save the rest for breakfast tomorrow. He starts peeling one for her, thinking she might not be used to doing it. He takes a big, satisfying bite of the juicy fruit to show her. His eyes widen with delight as he says it's the most delicious mango he's ever had. Olivia watches him, his enthusiastic reaction briefly lifting her sadness. Offering the mango, he encourages her to try the incredibly delicious fruit. A small sound escapes Olivia as she takes a cautious bite of the mango Akihito offered. Surprise makes her eyes widen as she whispers that it is delicious. Sitting by the fire, she looks at him and speaks from the heart. Akihito notices she still seems down and not her usual lively self. Chewing thoughtfully, he tries to figure out how to cheer her up right now. With a determined look, he decides to catch many clams to lift her spirits. One ominous raindrop splashes onto the dry ground beside his foot. Another drop hits his cheek, and he wonders whether it is starting to rain. Suddenly, the sky opens, and a torrential downpour begins. Akihito shouts to check on Olivia as she shields herself from the stinging rain. A loud hiss as the downpour instantly extinguishes their precious campfire. Akihito tells her he'll summon a rain shelter and asks her to wait a moment. Quickly scanning the menu, he remembers an item that costs just 1 point. He flourishes a large blue tarp and says it will keep them dry. Picking up a sturdy branch, he plans to use it as a makeshift tent pole. Struggling to set up the shelter, he sees the fire is completely out. Knowing the darkness will only make her mood worse, he is suddenly startled by a noise. Olivia throws herself at him and clings to his shirt with a desperate, tight grip. Stunned, Akihito's face is a mask of confusion at her sudden action. Pressing her face into his chest, Olivia shuts out the world. He looks down at her trembling form and panics as he asks what is wrong. Huddled in the rain, Akihito holds her as her hand grips his shirt tighter. Scanning the dark, stormy clearing, he is clearly bewildered by the situation. A jolt makes him realize something is very wrong with Olivia. Leaning over her with deep concern, he asks again what happened. He feels violent tremors shaking her body and asks if she is all right. A choked whisper escapes her as she murmurs about the suffocating darkness. The truth hits him. Her fear is in the rain, but in the dark itself. Guiding her under the tarp, he notices her fear is unusually strong. Trying to reassure her, he says everything will be all right now. Holding the shelter steady, he promises he's right beside her. Under the tarp, he waits anxiously as the storm shows no sign of stopping. Peering inside, he sees Olivia huddled and trembling uncontrollably. Watching her shiver, he looks utterly helpless. Frustrated, he clenches his fist and feels useless as she suffers. A strange warmth and energy suddenly surge through his whole body. He wonders what this new power is and whether it is what he suspects. A flash of insight makes him realize he has leveled up from camping. Noticing his points are restored, he assures Olivia that everything is okay now. Overcome by terror, Olivia keeps trembling with her hands over her face. A solar-powered lantern that costs 2 points appears in a bright flash. He hands her the lantern and apologizes for taking so long to get a light. Olivia looks up slowly, tears filling her eyes as they widen at the comforting glow. Smiling gently, he tells her she can rest without fear that the light will go out. Tears of gratitude shine in her eyes as she gazes at his kind face. He sets the lantern beside her, a beacon of safety in the dark. By morning, the storm had passed, and the sky was bright and clear. Sunlight streams through the canopy, while water drips from the wet leaves. Akihito spreads his arms wide, feeling refreshed after a night's sleep. Standing tall, he says the weather is clear, and it will be a good day. He notes that the lantern helped Olivia calm down and fall asleep. Watching her sleep, he wonders if she has trauma linked to darkness. Choosing not to pry, he waits until she is ready to tell him. He promises that while she stays on the island, he will keep her smiling. With his points in mind, he prepares to help her, but is interrupted. A new screen opens with a skill point roulette he can spin after leveling up. He learns he can spin this roulette once every 2 days of camping. Pressing the start button, he prepares to try his luck. The wheel spins quickly as he hopes for many points. Shouting with determination, he presses the button to stop the spinning wheel. The wheel stops on 19, and he cheers as his total jumps to an impressive 24 points. Now wealthy, he decides to buy the camp food skill first. Soft light surrounds him as he successfully unlocks the new ability. He cheers again after unlocking Pro of Preparation, which makes him a skilled cook. With this new skill, he can properly prepare any game Olivia brings back. He spends his remaining points on camping supplies for Olivia. He wants her to be happy, so she never has to be that afraid again. Olivia keeps sleeping soundly, curled into a ball to stay warm. In the morning light, the campsite is quiet and the fire crackles peacefully. Olivia wakes up, mortified, and apologizes for her unbecoming behavior. Akihito says good morning as she peeks out of the shelter. He tells her not to worry and asks if she's okay. He reveals his surprise, a new 10-inch tarp he bought to cheer her up. Explaining the tarp's magical glow, he suggests they build it together. Deeply moved, Olivia realizes he bought these things just for her. He chooses to make breakfast first, using leftovers and his food gacha. The gacha makes a box of instant clam chowder mix. He also summons a full outdoor cookware set to cook a proper meal. Olivia watches, fascinated, as he pours the strange powder into bowls. He pours hot water from the kettle as steam rises invitingly. He hands her a bowl and asks her to stir it well and enjoy the pleasant aroma. She takes a small, cautious sip of the warm soup. Pleasure lights her eyes as she whispers that it is delicious. Closing her eyes, she savors the soup's warm, soothing feeling. Akihito watches her with a warm, gentle smile, glad to see her at peace. Feeling recharged, Olivia says she is ready to set up the tent and do the work. Akihito is relieved to find her spirit has returned and agrees to begin. Akihito works with her, showing how to tie the tent ropes. Olivia is excited by the new experience, something she was never allowed before. Akihito pictures a life of strict limits, not allowed to cook, clean, or dress herself. A pang of sympathy makes him realize how stifling her life must have been. One final pull completes the tent, a proud achievement for both of them. Awe fills Olivia as she stares at it and whispers that it's the first tent she's ever built. Akihito meets her gaze, his eyes showing quiet understanding and affection. He suggests they go to the beach now to try digging for clams together. They reach the shore as gentle waves lap at the sand. Kneeling, Akihito explains that the first step is to find a small hole. He demonstrates sprinkling salt into the hole to coax the clam out. A razor clam shoots out of its burrow in the sand with a whoosh. Quickly, Akihito snatches it up and holds their first catch high in triumph. Akihito lifts the clam he just caught, triumphant. Encouraging bright-eyed Olivia, he asks her to give it a try. Instantly captivated, she says clam digging is great fun. Darting across the sand, she moves surprisingly fast to snatch clams. Their game stops when they discover the salt is gone. He figures their small catch won't take them far. Turning to him, Olivia feels a new resolve take hold in her mind. She declares she'll dig in and unleashes a massive blast of power. Dozens of clams fell, leaving Akihito stunned and wide-eyed. The task is complete, and the pot is filled to the brim. They have more fresh razor clams than they expected. Olivia is thrilled they can finally thank their minion friends properly. While Olivia fetches the minions, Akihito prepares the clams. He applies his proof of preparation skill to the task. With a single motion, he cleans every clam perfectly. He waits for the others to return to camp. Olivia returns with Buchi and Tama, both ecstatic. Smiling, he shows them the massive haul of fresh clams. He modestly gives Olivia all the credit for the catch. Buchi comes in carrying a surprise gift, a big block of butter. Akihito suggests Olivia try cooking the clams. Hesitant, she admits she has never cooked a meal. She takes a deep breath and agrees to try her best. Clams sizzling in butter fill the air with sound. A brief panic hits her, but Akihito reassures her calmly. A delicious aroma fills the air, leaving the minions waiting with eager anticipation. Nervously, she presents the finished dish of butter-sautéed clams. Hungry minions dive straight into the feast. Everyone's immediate reaction is a single cry of pure delight. Timidly, she asked for their verdict, and it was overwhelmingly positive. Thomas thanks her sincerely for preparing such a wonderful meal. Olivia is clearly moved, not used to such heartfelt praise. Akihito encourages her to try some of the food she cooked. She takes a hesitant first bite of the dish she prepared. Tasting it, she is hit by an unexpected wave of emotion. The simple, delicious flavor brings her to tears. Seeing her tears, Akihito asks what is wrong. She wipes her eyes quickly and insists she is fine. She says she's surprised by how good her first meal tastes. Akihito gives her a warm, gentle smile. He urges her to give up her noble duties and be free. Living freely is a revelation to her. He promises to keep her secret safe. She discovers she can do simple things without being judged. A profound realization hits her, and she can be herself. He firmly supports her newfound freedom. His kindness and sincerity move her deeply. She meets his gaze, gratitude filling her heart. With a bright smile, she thanks him for everything. Her warm smile makes his heart skip a beat. Smiling warmly, he tells her he feels the same. A quiet moment of genuine happiness passes between them. The minions misinterpret her emotional tears in a comical way. Her explanation doesn't convince them. Praising her cooking, they eagerly ask for another meal soon. Her confidence grows, and she gladly agrees to cook again. Akihito feels relieved to see her so happy and confident. A pure, unburdened laugh escapes her. At the joyous party, everyone keeps asking for more food. Later that night, a strange sound rises from the shoreline. A huge shape rises from the dark ocean waves. A sea lion beast can watch its camp from afar. The next morning, Akihito wakes up feeling refreshed. He remembers last night's clam party fondly. His status shows 9 points available to spend. At last, he decides to unlock a combat skill. Olivia greets him while he weighs his new skill options. She hands him a warm cup of freshly boiled tea. He explains his plan to learn to use an axe. Olivia agrees and says she can handle the sword fighting herself. They agree that covering for each other's weaknesses is a good strategy. A quiet partnership forms between them. Plan set, they focus on breakfast. He knows a single banana won't be enough to keep them going. Using the food gacha, he receives a container of potatoes. Olivia eagerly volunteers to cook again with his guidance. She proudly displays the potatoes she washed, now sparkling clean. She chops the potatoes enthusiastically and with force. Watching the pot, she gets excited as the potatoes start to boil. He adds the last of their salt and Bucci's butter. This simple but delicious breakfast of buttered potatoes is ready. A fork slides easily into the perfectly cooked potato. Both take a bite and enjoy the taste. Enjoying a simple meal, they share a quiet moment. Akihito says he is craving some meat or fish. Olivia insists she will get meat for dinner. Heading out to hunt, she gets his wish for luck. Her example inspires him to try fishing himself. At the rocky shoreline, he gets ready to fish. Crouching by a tide pool, he holds a bucket. He notices several small crabs and fish in the clear water. He is concerned about whether the creatures are safe to eat. He runs through his skill tree in his head, planning his next upgrade. A strange presence draws his gaze up from the water. He spots a sea lion beast-kin watching him from a rock. Recalling his bad experience with the birds, he remains wary. Choosing to be friendly, he cautiously calls out to it. The sea lion gives him a quick, dismissive look. It turns away and ignores his greeting. Just as he is about to give up, it makes a sound, showing it wants to listen. At the rocky shore, Akihito politely introduces himself to a peculiar sea lion wearing a vest. Pointing to a tide pool, he asks whether the small crabs and fish are safe to eat. That gruff bark makes sea lions seem edible, but not very tasty. Akihito thanks the creature and says any amount of food would be welcome. Giving a noncommittal grunt, the sea lion turns its head away, seeming indifferent. It plunges into the ocean with a powerful splash and vanishes beneath the waves. Akihito suspects the creature dislikes people, but decides to try fishing himself. He reaches into the tide pool to catch the tiny creatures by hand. At first, he splashes around awkwardly, struggling to find anything to hold onto. After 10 minutes of effort, he lifts a single tiny fish in triumph. Pleased with his catch, he realizes this method will take far too long. After tossing the fish back, he realizes he really needs a proper fishing rod. A loud splash startles him when something lands on the rock beside him. In disbelief, he stares at a magnificent bundle of large fish tied with seaweed. He realizes the sea lion's voice was unchanged. It had gone to fetch this for him. The gentle sea lion makes another quick splash, then dives back into the ocean and disappears. Deeply grateful, Akihito cups his hands and shouts a sincere thank you. Holding the pot of fish, he thinks about how the kind creature went out of its way. Admiring how fresh the fish are, he feels awkward about the generous gift. Finding the bounty too good to keep to himself, he heads to the Minion village. Arriving at the quaint village tucked among giant, whimsical mushrooms, Bucci, the minion with a patched face, greets him warmly, glad to see him back. Tama rushes over excitedly and asks what brings him here, his nose twitching. Akito brings out the pot of fresh fish, and the minion's eyes light up with joy. People call him a master fisherman, but he says a sacred beast gave it to him. Recognizing the description, Bucci identifies the creature as a member of the Ishika tribe. The Ashikas serve the half-fishmen, he says, and wear scallop shells instead of hats. Akihito now realizes the sea lion he met was one of these Ashika. He asks about the Ashika and whether they hold a grudge against humans. Bucci says the Ashika are a tribe weighed down by many internal contradictions. Confused, Akihito asked Bucci to explain what he means by these contradictions. Bucci says they are shy but kind and want to help people but struggle to interact. They love grilled fish, but their clumsiness around fire often gets them burned. Bucci says this inner conflict even makes their shoulders comically stiff. The minions tell him to be kind to Ishika, and Akihito nods in understanding. Back at the camp with Olivia, he prepares to cook the generous gift of fish. With his magical preparation skill, he readies the fish for the fire instantly. A perfectly clean fish lies on a wooden plank, ready to be grilled over the fire. For one step, he pulls out a proper santoku knife to help with the prep, planning to make salt-grilled mackerel in a light soup for his minion friends. A fish sizzles over the flames as Olivia calls his name. Back from the hunt, Olivia looks defeated and carries a gloomy air of failure. Offering her a freshly grilled fish, the delicious aroma quickly lifts her spirits. He says he didn't catch it himself and suggests they eat while they talk. He describes his strange and wonderful meeting with a kind member of the Ishika tribe. Olivia is amazed and describes the incredible thing that happened to him today. He admits he wanted to befriend the creature, but he feared it might dislike him. Olivia turns to him with a suddenly serious expression, leaving him completely off guard. Confidently, she says he can befriend them and guarantees it. Her unwavering trust in him makes his heart skip a beat and leaves him flustered. Seeing Olivia's strong belief in him, he finds her kind and gentle. Grateful, he thanks her and promises to return to the sea later to try to meet it again. Glad they're becoming friends, he worries that getting closer could be dangerous. He knows Olivia will have to leave the island when the next ship arrives. Thinking about their eventual goodbye already feels unbearably painful. The campfire's crackling reminds them that their day of parting is near. Looking up, he decides to focus on the time they have now. Olivia thanks him for the meal and promises to try harder at hunting. They wish her luck as she returns to the forest to try again. Watching her leave, he decides he must be careful for now. Thinking of the Ashika love-grilled fish, he decides to bring one back as a gift. From the rocky shore, he scans the horizon, looking for his new sea lion friend. At last, he sees the creature on a distant rock and calls, "There you are." Approaching carefully, he offers a soft greeting to avoid startling the shy beast. Still surprised, the sea lion immediately tries to slip back into the water. Akihito quickly tells it to wait and explains he brought grilled fish as a thank you. The sea lion stops asking about the fish and confirms it is a gift. Asked if it dislikes fish, the creature quickly says no and looks away. He wonders whether its quick refusal really means it likes the fish. He sets the offering down and says the meal was delicious and he is grateful. Cautiously, the sea lion approaches the offering and starts eating the grilled fish. Crouching nearby, Akihito smiles warmly as he watches the creature eat. He properly reintroduces himself and asks the creature for its name. The sea lion faces the ocean and lets out a soft bark, Toby. Akihito beams with joy, thanking Toby for finally telling him his name. Toby gives him a shy sideways glance, apparently pleased by his happy reaction. Turning back toward the ocean, he keeps nibbling his tasty gift. Akihito sees Toby as a kind, sacred beast for helping him. He decides right then to find a proper way to repay Toby for his kindness. A dark, threatening shape suddenly rises from the ocean as they sit together. Under the waves, two glowing, menacing eyes stare out of the darkness. A massive creature bursts from the sea, sending a violent spray of white water. A sudden, massive disturbance catches Akihito and Toby completely off guard. Instinctively, Akihito ducks down to shield himself from the huge spray of seawater. The creature crashes down, and Akihito throws himself over Toby to take the impact. He looks up in shock at a massive tentacled monster looming over them. He asks Toby at once if he's all right, and the sea lion gives a small nod. Toby shakes the water from his head and looks annoyed. The splash knocked his precious scallop shell hat askew. The shell falls off his head and clatters onto the wet rocks beside him. Toby gives a frustrated cry and quickly snatches his precious hat back. At that moment, two sleek killer whales surface and chatter eagerly toward Toby. Akihito is baffled, sensing the creatures are in a strange, almost playful mood. Toby tells him to stand back, which only makes him more confused about the situation. Startled, Akihito realizes they're all just pranksters, but he still doesn't get it. Toby says he's a prankster because of the half-fishman's influence. Akihito is completely baffled by this strange, nonsensical explanation from the sea lion. A giant fish playfully slaps Toby, knocking him into the water. The ocean surges as a strange parade of sea creatures starts to move away. Alone on the rocks, Akihito watches the waves, unable to make sense of what happened. Standing on the cliff, Akihito calls out to check if his friend Toby is okay. He's worried the sea lion may not come back today after the chaotic prank. The strange sight of the giant fish and the killer whales stayed with him. He wishes he had properly thanked Toby for bringing the fish earlier. The sea lion's sad words about being only half a person keep echoing in his mind. Deciding to wait a bit longer, he hopes his friend will come back. Sitting on the cliff, he wishes he could do something to help. A stream of bubbles suddenly breaks the calm ocean's surface. Toby leaps from the sea with a big splash. Akihito realizes the two killer whales from earlier are joyfully chasing him. Calling Toby's name, he feels the sea lion nudge him affectionately. Toby slips back into the water with a playful, slightly mischievous look. With a quick wink, he slips back into the waves. Far off, the killer whales keep playing energetically with Toby. The ocean churns with spray and the chaotic energy of their play. After searching the shoreline for a while, Akihito finds his friend gone. A dark silhouette on a distant rock catches his eye, and he wonders if it is Toby. As the creature turns, fear surges through Akihito. A monstrous devil rat snarls savagely, its fangs beard. Akihito's eyes go wide with pure, unadulterated terror. To his horror, he realizes he's face to face with a deadly monster. This is bad. Olivia, his powerful protector, is missing. He checks himself frantically, realizing he's completely unarmed and utterly alone. Sharp claws sink into the rock as the creature prepares to lunge. Launching through the air, it is a blur of mangy black fur and rage. Throwing himself backward, he barely avoids the monster's snapping jaws by inches. His feet slip on the uneven rocks as he scrambles away. He recalls Olivia saying these creatures were not particularly strong. Up close, its terrifying maw makes him strongly disagree. Without a weapon, he has no chance. The second devil rat joins the hunt and closes in relentlessly. Panic surges through him as he realizes he's about to be caught. Desperate for a strong weapon, he shouts and activates his status screen. The monster's jaws snap shut the instant he makes his split-second decision. Light flashes as a heavy object starts to form in his hands. He shouts defiantly as the weapon finishes forming into an axe. With all his strength, he brings the axe down, the blow landing with a brutal, sickening impact. He drives the weapon down again, killing the monster in a spray of gore. The second devil rat gives a terrified cry and runs into the wilderness. Panting heavily, he watches it disappear and wonders if he really drove it off. Collapsing to the ground, he is exhausted and thinks he barely survived. His gloved hand still grips the axe handle and trembles with adrenaline. Sitting among the rocks, he reflects on the monster he just defeated. Olivia comes to mind. She could have handled that creature easily. Clenching his fist, he decides to ask her to train him for the future. A familiar head breaks the water nearby as he sits. Toby calls Akihito's name, looking concerned. The young sea lion sighs softly, worried about his human friend. Surprised and relieved, Akihito turns to see him. He sees Toby in the water, and Toby makes a small noise to catch his attention. Akihito is overjoyed and tells Toby he'd been hoping to talk with him. Toby appears to be asking if Akihito was speaking to him. Climbing onto the rocks, he nudges Akihito and asks if he's hurt. Akito smiles, confirming he saw the fight and is okay, just a bit shaken. Toby apologizes and explains he was too far away to arrive in time to help. Akihito thanks him for his concern and asks if Toby is okay after the prank. Toby says the elaborate prank was his way of thanking Akihito. Akihito is deeply moved by the odd but heartfelt gesture. Toby watches quietly, their friendship now secure. After a comfortable pause, Toby changes the subject. Shyly, he says the grilled fish had been delicious. Surprised by the compliment, Akihito thanks him. Smiling broadly and genuinely, he tells Toby he's welcome. Offering to cook again if Toby brings more fish, he gets an eager nod from his friend. Akihito then asked why the others called him a half-person. Toby hangs his head, hurt by how mean the others are to him. He explains that hats are very important to the Ashika tribe. They mark adulthood and are a rite of passage for every member. All his peers have found their hats, but he still has none. He says he swims farther than anyone, always searching. Because he's still only half a person, he feels he can't complain. Leaning his head against Akihito's shoulder, he reveals a moment of vulnerability. Akihito insists Toby is doing his best and is not to blame. He tells Toby he's kind and hardworking, but a little unlucky. Toby recoils at the remark, calling Akihito a strange human. Now the sea lion looks at him with curiosity and respect. Akihito thinks about how important a hat must be to the Ishika people. A flash of insight gives him a brilliant idea. He asked Toby what kind of hat Toby wanted. After hearing the answer, Straw Hat knows exactly what to do. At a single point, a beautiful straw hat appears out of thin air. He hands the hat to Toby as a thank you for his earlier kindness. Tobias stood stunned, eyes wide and tearful, and asked if the hat is for him. Akihito confirms this, and the young sea lion gently accepts the gift. With reverence, he holds the hat, his eyes full of wonder. Gently, he places it on his head. Striking a proud, grown-up pose, he hears Akihito cheer that it looks perfect. Overwhelmed with emotion, Toby thanks Akihito repeatedly. Overwhelmed with gratitude, he is nearly speechless. Akihito smiles warmly, pleased that his friend enjoys the gift so much. He says he hopes they can sit and talk like this again before long. Two friends sit together on the rocks watching the calm sea. On the shore, they share a quiet, peaceful moment. From afar, the two arrogant Albert birds watch them suspiciously. Back at camp, Akihito brings his new axe and a log for the fire. One powerful swing splits the log cleanly in two. He marvels at how his skill with camping tools guides his movements. A surge of accomplishment hits him now that he finally has a proper weapon. Looking back, he thinks about the long journey and the points he used to get here. A smug grin crosses his face as a new day brings a level up. Pointing dramatically, Akita announces he will spin the roulette for points. Sleepy Olivia emerges from the tent and wishes him good morning. Still groggy, she stumbles forward and lets out a startled cry. Her hand accidentally slams the stop button on his screen. They tumble to the ground in a clumsy, tangled heap. Standing face to face, he asks if she's all right as she stammers an apology. Embarrassment makes her eyes widen when she notices how close they are. Scrambling away from him, she quickly apologizes for tripping and getting too close. Akihito looks at his screen and is stunned to see he won 36 points. On top of everything else, he lets out a huge cheer for his jackpot win. Grateful, he thanks Olivia profusely, while she remains completely bewildered and has no idea what happened. With so many points, he buys a set of healing skills. Next, he summons a high-quality, multi-purpose knife to use with his preparation skill. Olivia watches with wide-eyed curiosity as he shows her the new blade. With points to spare, he figures he can finally buy them breakfast. He decides to use the food gacha twice to give them a proper meal. With a flourish, a mouth-watering club sandwich appears before them. He is delighted by his luck, while Olivia admires the appetizing food. A large plain white tub appears as the second item from the gacha. Revealing its ice cream, he makes Olivia's face light up as she says she loves sweets. Olivia fears it will melt, while Akihito suggests sharing it with the minions. Noting how warm the day is, she wishes she could use ice magic to cool it. Akihito smiles knowingly and says he has just the thing for that. Using a special magic-powered refrigerant pack, he summons a large cooler box. He asked Olivia to charge the pack, and she cheerfully agrees to do it. Arriving at the whimsical Minion village, tucked among giant mushrooms, Bucci welcomes them warmly as they approach with the large cooler. The minions crowd around and ask about the large box. Akihito smiles warmly and says he brought a delicious treat to share. Hearing delicious food sends a ripple of excitement through the whole village. Opening the cooler, he says there is plenty of ice cream for everyone. The minions stare at the strange white mass, unsure if it's really edible. Olivia says she's never had it, so Akihito suggests they give it a taste. Bravely, Beauty takes the first spoonful, while the whole village watches closely. Akihito and Olivia hold their breath, hoping he likes the cold treat. Bucci's eyes fly open as he releases a booming roar of joy. He says it's delicious and admits he seriously underestimated Akihito. With a smile, Olivia tells the other eager minions to line up. Beaming with joy, she finds new happiness and serves her friends. Akihito watches, realizing this is a brand new experience for her. Bucci teases Akihito to stop staring and get himself a bowl. The minions dig in eagerly, taking large spoonfuls of the new treat. One of the cat people savors the cold, delicious taste of the ice cream. The whole village is swept up in euphoria and says it tastes like heaven. People keep asking for more, saying it's so good they could eat it every day. They start praising Akihito as a god who gives them wonderful things. One member of the Minion enthusiastically suggests building a bronze statue to honor him. Olivia giggles as she pictures a grand statue of Akihito, the ice cream god. Flustered, Akihito explains it's made only from eggs and milk. A minion looks shocked and asks if he can actually do it himself. Akihito says they can use goat's milk, now they only need eggs. Bucci thinks carefully about where to find bird eggs. Worried, Akita fears they mean the arrogant Albert birds, but Bucci dismisses the idea. Bucci says there are no chickens, but there is another bird. Confused, Akihito asked what other eggs they could get. Boogie grows deadly serious and names their dangerous target, the rock. A monstrous bird over 12 meters tall is nesting 40 kilometers away, he says. Boogie warns anyone caught stealing its egg will be killed. Unfazed, the minions say it's a risk worth taking for more ice cream. Thomas suggests they capture a rock instead of just stealing an egg. Olivia adds, eyes sparkling, that rock meat is delicious too. Overjoyed, the minions imagine a feast of roasted rock and ice cream. A small, determined hunting party forms with Akihito, Olivia, Bucci, and Tama. Akihito breaks into a sweat, feeling he might have just made a terrible, sinful mistake. Reviewing his preparations, he chooses which skills to learn for the dangerous journey. He spends some points to unlock the useful edibility judgment skill. He gains beginner's movement magic, a basic teleportation skill for emergencies. Now that their preparations are complete, the small party is finally ready to leave. 4 adventurers made their way into the deep, imposing forest. Bucci warns Tama to watch his step as the path becomes more treacherous. Tama insists he's always careful, unlike the clumsy Bucci. Right then, Toma trips on a vine, gets caught, and is hoisted up. Bucci raises the alarm, worried about his friend's safety. He warns they must cut the vine now before it crushes Tama. Understanding hits Akihito, and his eyes widen as he realizes how he can help. Stepping forward confidently, he tells the others he will handle it. Drawing his knife, he says he can see exactly where to cut. Activating his pro of preparation skill, his body becomes a blur of motion. Impossibly precise slashes cut the thick vines instantly. Tama lands safely on the ground, unharmed by the dangerous trap. Akihito catches the dazed minion, relieved he managed to save him. Olivia hurries to check on Tama, who is shaken but otherwise fine. The minions thank Akihito and Olivia sincerely for the swift rescue. Olivia praises his swordsmanship, but he says he was applying a cooking skill. A menacing presence looms in the canopy high above them. A sneering voice asks whether they are preparing the minions for eating. Recognizing the annoying voice, Akihito looks up with a scowl. 2 arrogant Albert birds perch above, mocking them for needing human help. Tama is flustered, and Akihito clarifies he wasn't going to eat him. The birds fly off, taunting that they fear no mere human. Bucci points out the sun is setting, and they should keep moving. Agreeing, Akihito turns to continue their journey down the path. Boogie points to the steep, rocky terrain ahead, close to the rock's nest. The party starts the steep, dangerous climb up the cliff. Above, the Albert birds watch, annoyed that the party is ignoring them. They decide to attack to force the party to notice them. Fruit suddenly rain down on Akita, making her cry out in surprise. Olivia has also struck and notes the attack is coming from above. His edibility judgment skill checks the projectiles and finds they are all food. Furious, Akihito declares that food must never be wasted. Akihito sorts the fruit with skill, impressing Olivia and the minions. The Albert birds are puzzled by what just happened. They notice Akihito seems different than usual. Akihito turns toward the birds as a sudden, chilling thought hits him. A sharp glint in his eye shows he now realizes the birds themselves can be eaten. A status screen appears in front of the birds, marking them as edible. They freeze in terror. Panicked birds flee for their lives, screaming that they will be eaten. Tom eats a banana happily, and Butchai notes the bird's surprising speed. Olivia praises Akihito, amazed that his skinning skill produces such a powerful effect. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently under their feet. Akihito looks up at the trembling mountain, unsure whether it's an earthquake. Terrified, Buchi cries out upon seeing a sign of a much greater danger. Pointing to the sky, he warns that the colossal rock is returning to its nest. The ground cracks and breaks apart as the giant creature begins to descend. The landing creates a massive shockwave of dust and debris across the cliffside. The rock lands with a deafening screech, its monstrous bulk blotting out the sun. Akihito stares in stunned silence, saying the creature is unbelievably huge. Just when one wasn't enough, a second massive rock lands beside the first. A third rock rises, its menacing eye fixed on the intruders. 3 rocks let out a fierce, unified screech, ready to defend their home. Close-up of a rock's angry eye shows its murderous intent. Buchi cries out in panic that the situation is extremely dangerous. One of the rock's dives features sharp talons aimed directly at the minions. Massive claws slam into the rock with devastating, earth-shattering force. Terrified, Thomas screams and dives for cover, believing he is about to be eaten. Scrambling, he slips into a narrow crevice just in time. Stone talons miss by only inches as the minions huddle together, safe for now. A second rock circles overhead, ready to join the attack on the intruders. A powerful gust from its wings throws Akihito to the ground. Olivia helps him up and asks if he's okay while he stammers about how big it is. Buchi yells to Akihito, urging him to fall back into the forest for cover. They scramble to their feet and follow the minions to safety. Arriving at the woods, Buchi explains the large birds cannot follow them. From their hiding spot, they see all 3 rocks guarding their nest. Grimly assessing the odds, Olivia admits she could only fight one at most. Buchi agrees a frontal assault is reckless and suggests they wait for an opening. Olivia's eyes light up, and she's eager to fight one to get some tasty meat. Buchi agrees with Akihito to focus on the eggs and begins planning a strategy. He points out that the minions can hide, but Akihito and Olivia are too big. Akihito unveils his ace, a teleportation ability that can transport one other person. Buchi's eyes light up with inspiration, showing he has a plan. Pulling the group close, he whispers the first part of his bold plan. 3 rocks shift restlessly in their nest on the hierarchy cliff. A bird ruffles its feathers, as if getting ready to leave. Low growls move through the rocks before one of them takes flight. Now that one rock is gone, only 2 remain to guard the precious eggs. The remaining birds turn their heads as a strange sound draws their attention. Hidden minions toss oranges near the nest to create a distraction. The rocks stare at the fruit, puzzled by its sudden appearance as food. Curiosity gets the better of them, and they start pecking at the oranges. Hiding nearby, Buki and Tama whisper that their diversion is working perfectly. They keep tossing fruit to lure the giant birds farther from the nest. With the rocks distracted, Buchi signals the rest is Akihito's job. Akihito peeks out from behind a rock and sees his chance. He sees the prize, 2 large, pristine white eggs in the nest. Creeping forward as quietly as he can, his heart pounds in his chest. Reaching the nest, his gloved hand hovers over one of the giant eggs. Grinning, he grabs the egg and gets ready to escape. Straining to lift it, he is shocked by how heavy it is. Straining, his face tightens as he says it's extremely heavy. Olivia rushes to his side and asks what's wrong as he struggles with the egg. Offering to take over, she uses her body enhancement skill to lift it. Their clumsy handoff makes a loud scraping sound that echoes across the cliff. One rock lets out a furious shriek, snapping its head toward the sound. Looking up in horror, they realize their stealthy plan has failed completely. Akihito snatches his axe and braces to fend off the charging monster. Olivia shouts a warning as a raging boulder barrels toward them. Akihito faces the threat with grim resolve. Yelling, he tells Olivia to get down and pushes her behind him to shield her. Standing between his friend and the behemoth, he is the last line of defense. The rock's beak slams down, and Akihito is thrown back by the sheer force. Trembling, he feels the crushing pressure of the creature's overwhelming power. He still can't believe chipping just one of its talons caused such an impact. Olivia tells him they need to create an opening if they hope to escape. The rocket strikes again, crashing down with terrifying speed and force. Dodging, Akihito shouts defiantly that he will not let it have the egg. His only goal is to ensure everyone gets back safely. Olivia stares at him, eyes wide with feeling, moved by his selfless courage. As the third rock flies back, Boogie knows their time is up. Shouting the second part of the plan, he tells them it's time to go home. Hearing Butchai, Akihito knows what he must do to save them all. He tells Olivia to get ready for his signal. Olivia lets out a fierce shout and activates her Vance skill to hurl the egg at him. He catches it as she yells she has made the opening they needed. Holding the egg, Akihito uses his movement magic to return to the campsite. A brilliant flash erupts and blinds the two bewildered rocks. Back at camp, they tumble to the ground in a dazed heap. Olivia looks up and spots their tent, feeling relieved that they made it. Holding hands, they laugh and celebrate their narrow but successful escape. Akihito collapses, utterly spent from the strain of the powerful spell. After apologizing to each other, they grew worried about their friends left behind. Olivia goes over the rest of the plan. They would meet at Minion village. They stroll through the familiar, peaceful forest of giant spotted mushrooms. Olivia is sure the minions are safe because she trusts their knowledge of the island. Akihito remembers Butchai's secret plan and trusts his clever friend. Approaching the village clearing, they find their friends waiting. Buchi and Tama rush forward, overjoyed to find Akihito and Olivia safe. All the villagers celebrate the hero's safe return and their prize. Smiling, Akihito asks Butchai what his amazing secret escape plan was. Buchi puffs out his chest and says proudly that his plan was to run. The promise of ice cream gave them all the courage they needed, he explains. Akihito spends 5 points to summon a large spherical ice cream maker for the celebration. Buchi and Thomas study the odd device, unsure if it can really make ice cream. The minions eagerly help mix the rock egg yolk, goat's milk, and sugar in a bowl. Akihito asked Olivia to use her magic to chill the device's refrigerant pack instantly. Smiling brightly, Akihito says the final step is to just roll the ball. The minion children burst into laughter and playfully roll the large ball around. Olivia watches the heartwarming scene, completely captivated by how adorable the minions are. With the minions gathered, Akito says the ice cream is almost ready. With a flourish, he reveals a bowl of perfectly churned, creamy ice cream. The minions dig in, faces lighting up with pure joy at the delicious flavor. They cheer for Akihito and demand a statue in his honor, which embarrasses him. At the celebration, Olivia pulls him aside to thank him sincerely. He laughs it off, saying he was just frantically trying to make sure they turned safely. She looks at him with genuine admiration and insists he was incredibly cool. Akihito, flustered by her sincere compliment, can only stammer a quiet thank you. Her mood shifts as she laments not getting any meat. Buchi overhears her and asks if she wants to eat meat, and she eagerly agrees. He suggests they hunt in the caves, a place full of delicious food. Olivia is intrigued by the suggestion and repeats the word caves, testing it. Buchi describes a magical place filled with rare creatures, gleaming crystals, and delicious ingredients. Olivia notes that everyone seems to agree and lets her gaze settle on Akihito. Energized, Akihito points forward and announces their next adventure will be a cave expedition. They reach the base of a rocky cliff where the dark entrance to the cave waits. Ready for a new challenge, Akihito and Olivia approach the foreboding opening. Recognizing the location, Olivia confirms this is the cave Buchi described. Before the dark maw, she points to a strange totem and calls it the entrance marker. Buchi points out that the number carved on the totem's stomach appears to be a 0. He says the number shows the monster level, and 0 means the area is safe. Buchi finds no powerful monsters near the cave entrance. Akihito thinks the meat thereafter must be deeper inside, where tougher monsters live. Olivia declares, her warrior spirit ignited, that she will be the one to get the meat. She pauses and admits she will need a light to find her way in the dark. Akihito gently hands her a lantern, and she becomes flustered by the thoughtful gesture. Their hands touch briefly as he hands her the lantern. She pulls her hand back in a panic and apologizes for her unusual reaction. Smiling shyly, she asked if she could carry the light. Akito gives her a warm, reassuring grin and tells her that of course it is. Grateful, she takes the lantern with a new sense of confidence. Holding the light high, Olivia officially begins their expedition into the cave. Akihito is watching her. A fond smile spreads across his face as he thinks of her name. He decides to support her, knowing she is doing her best despite her phobia. Moving into the gloom, they agree to go slowly and be very careful. Farther in, they move through a vast cavern. The ceiling is dotted with strange glowing lights. Buchi points to another totem, marked with a 1 that signals a more dangerous area. Akito says the path looks clear for now, as Olivia watches nervously. A strange, ethereal light suddenly flashes past Akihito, startling him. The light is actually a massive swarm of large, moth-like insects. Akihito grimaces as they realize they are surrounded by a terrifying number of bugs. His arms flail, but he is completely overwhelmed and cannot drive the swarm away. Olivia calls out his name, asking if he is all right amid the chaotic swarm of insects. The bugs drawn to the light start gathering around her lantern. Olivia sounds the alarm when she realizes the swarm is dimming their only source of light. Shouting Vance in fury, she unleashes a powerful swirling gust of wind. The blast's force scatters the swarm instantly, sending the insects flying. Her powerful attack has cleared the air and left a pile of defeated insects on the ground. Afterward, Akihito sees a cluster of pale growths on the wall and recognizes them as mushrooms. His expertise confirms they are edible cave mushrooms, a rare and delicious find. Tama remembers excitedly that Buchi said they could trade these mushrooms for bacon. Akihito pictures a delicious meal of sauteed bacon and mushrooms as they gather their prize. Moving on, Olivia notices something else hidden in a dark crevice. She calls to Akihito, saying there may be something edible nearby. Approaching, Akihito peers into the darkness and wonders what the strange plant is. Olivia notices the oddity of a plant growing in the dark as Akihito prepares to investigate. Suddenly, the ground ahead erupts with a monstrous roar. Akihito shouts Olivia's name as he sees a monster emerge from the ground. Wide-eyed with shock, he takes in the creature's full, terrifying form. A giant armored centipede looms over him, and he can only whisper how huge it is. As the creature lunges, Akihito instinctively raises his axe to defend himself. Above his head, the monster's sharp, powerful mandibles click threateningly. Akihito nervously says the creature is a centipede, leaving Olivia utterly disgusted. A guttural roar erupts as the centipede charges forward, its maw wide open. The monster's powerful strike hurls their precious lantern into the air. Olivia's eyes widen with horror as she watches their only light source tumble away. The lantern slams into the far wall, shattering and plunging them into darkness. Instinctively, Akihito pushes Olivia behind him and yells for her to get down. Standing firm, he holds his axe, ready to face the monstrous threat alone. The creature clamps its mandibles around his axe, and he strains against its immense strength. Gritting his teeth, his muscles scream as the beast's raw force pushes him back. He knows he must avoid its poisonous legs because a single touch could be fatal. Snarling, the monster's face is inches from his as it tries to crush him. Olivia calls his name in terror from the darkness behind him. Roaring one last time, Akihito pushes back with everything he has. A powerful counterattack breaks one of the creature's massive mandibles. Riding his momentum, he prepares to deliver a final, decisive blow. Dark ichor sprays from the creature's wound as it reels from pain and shock. Akihito leaps and brings his axe down in a powerful overhead swing. With a sickening thud, the blade sinks deep into the monster's head. He stands over the fallen beast, breathing hard after the battle. Turning to Olivia, he asks in disbelief whether he really managed to defeat it. Blushing with awe and relief, Olivia confirms that it seems he has. Praising his amazing feat, she makes him laugh, relieved he somehow managed it. Standing over the corpse, his unique skill emits a notification chime. A pop-up identifies the creature as a marvel giant centipede and notes it is edible under certain conditions. The skill also notes that when boiled, it has the texture and rich taste of lobster. Akito's face twists into a mask of pure shock and horror. Olivia sees his odd expression and asks what's wrong, worried he might be hurt. Turning to her, he forces a smile and says the centipede is supposedly delicious. Olivia's eyes widen in horror as she stares at him, unable to process his words. He immediately backpedals, waving his hands frantically and insisting he was only joking. Muttering to himself, he says it would take real courage to eat something so grotesque. After leaving the disgusting centipede behind, Akihito and Olivia laugh and agree to forget it. As Akihito reaches for the lantern, his hand slips. Olivia watches from the side as the lantern clatters through the air. Sudden darkness reveals their only light has gone out. Olivia lets out a terrible scream, collapses, and cries out into the darkness. Akihito shouts her name, stunned by the intensity of her reaction. Kneeling, her whole body trembles uncontrollably with sheer terror. He reaches for her right away, trying to offer comfort and reassurance. Holding her, he realizes how serious her phobia is and promises to stay by her side. Trembling, Olivia manages a choked apology for being weak. Holding her tighter, he tells her not to apologize while he worries about finding a new light. Akihito knows he must get her out of the cave because they are too vulnerable in the dark. His face tightens with resolve, determined to protect her at all costs. Peering into the gloom, he sees a faint, mysterious light deeper in the cave. He asks if she can walk, but she only shakes her head, frozen with fear. With no other option, he prepares to lift her off the ground. Apologizing for the familiarity, he gently lifts her into his arms. Carrying her, he steps into a magnificent grotto whose walls glitter with a wondrous light. Both are stunned when they find the source, countless massive magic stones. He gently sets her down and suggests they rest in the soft glow for a while. Olivia, overwhelmed and flustered, can only offer a quiet, blushing agreement. Apologizing again, she steadies herself while he gently tells her to be careful. His hand finds hers and holds it firmly to reassure her. Smiling warmly, he tells her that her safety is his top priority. Olivia meets his eyes, her face soft and filled with unspoken gratitude. Clutching his hand, she thanks him, moved by his steady kindness. Their light banter eases the tension for a moment. Picking up a crystal, Akito admires the strange beauty of magic stones. Olivia points out the minions trade these and notes one this large must be valuable. He offers her the stones cheerfully, but she insists he was the one who found them. He says he doesn't need them and that she should take them as a souvenir. Flustered, she admits her family is quite well off and she doesn't need more. Playfully teasing him, she hears him say the mushrooms he found are his real prize. Olivia gives a soft, genuine laugh as her tense posture finally relaxes. Relieved, Akihito smiles, happy to see her spirit returning. He thinks back to her earlier terror and realizes it comes from deep trauma. Seeing usually cheerful Olivia so afraid troubles him. It becomes clear to him that her intense phobia stems from a painful experience. Olivia looks up at him with a serious expression and says his name. She reflects on how he has always acted in her best interests. She decides she can trust him and thinks maybe it's okay to tell him her story. She repeats his name to get his full attention before starting. Her voice firm with resolve, she asked him to listen to a story about her past. Akihito meets her gaze, serious and ready to listen. In the glowing cavern, they sit together while she prepares to explain everything. Sparkling crystals in the cavern create a calm backdrop for her painful story. They sit together in the vast grotto, sharing a quiet, intimate moment amid the grandeur. Akihito remembers wanting to understand her past, but now feels apprehensive. Olivia knows he must be wondering why she has a crippling fear of the dark. He listens, even if the story is painful for her to tell. Noticing her resolve, he tells her he really wants to know and understand. Moved by his kindness, Olivia smiles gratefully at him. Her story begins by taking them back to events a year earlier. A flashback shows her as a respected holy knight and platoon commander. Her cape proudly bears the ornate insignia of her noble house. Her devoted staff eagerly invite her to join them for a meal. Two jealous nobles cut in, falsely insisting she already has plans with them. Her loyal soldiers glare at the two nobles to protect their commander. Nobles spread bitter gossip about her, jealous of her birth and rank. One of them quietly repeats a rumor he heard about the half-pieman family. He says her family's business failed, and they are now heavily in debt. Cut to the Marquis, her father, looking tired and tense. The Marquis's imposing presence immediately silences the gossiping nobles. Alone, he reads a letter, his face pained and worried. His face is deeply etched by his family's troubles. He approaches Olivia with a formal letter from the Marquisate. Olivia's face fills with shock and disbelief as she reads the letter. Noticing her reaction, her father asks what's wrong. He announces the devastating news that their trade ships have sunk again. He admits he took out a huge loan to recoup their losses. The solution is a marriage proposal from the Prince of Nissel. Calmly, Olivia explains that marrying the prince would clear their debts. Tears of relief fall from her father's eyes as she gently tells him not to worry. Her eyes close as she accepts her duty as a daughter of House Half-Pieman. A soldier rushes in, cutting them off with an urgent, breathless message. He says zombies are pouring out of the cemetery and nodding at him. There are more than 300 undead, and the horde continues to grow. Olivia remembers the Nottingham orphanage and the children she used to play with there. Resolute, she orders her platoon to prepare for battle. Leading the charge on horseback, she and her 72 soldiers face an army of the dead. A brutal, chaotic fight against the undead horde begins. The true scale of the threat hits her, more than 300 zombies ahead. A soldier suggests waiting for reinforcements, but she says there's no time. Determined, she vows to stop the horde here and rescue anyone trapped inside. Glenn, her second in command, is put in charge of the defensive line. Mounted on her white steed, she lifts her spear and prepares her ultimate holy technique. A huge wave of divine energy bursts from her, wiping out the zombies. Soldiers cheer her name, awed by her power as they search for survivors. With the path clear, she leads her soldiers into the church. Bursting through the main doors and calling out, they find only an eerie silence. Scanning the dark, empty church, she looks for survivors who might be hiding. Glenn, her trusted second in command, watches with a worried expression. She tells him to stay calm and be strong, no matter what they find. She smiles confidently to reassure him and remind him she is a holy knight. A soldier discovers a side door locked from the inside. Olivia calls out, names her platoon, and offers help to anyone nearby. When nobody answers, she decides they must break the door down. A powerful kick breaks the wooden door, sending splinters flying. Soldiers under her command rush into the dark room, lanterns held high. Inside, they find exactly what they were looking for, a group of huddled children. Olivia kneels in a memory, armored and relieved that the young girl is safe. The girl calls her older sister Olivia to ask if she remembers playing together. Her face suddenly twists into a monstrous grin while her voice keeps calling Big Sis. Now a zombie, the child snarls, a low guttural sound rising from her throat. Throwing herself in front of the lunging zombie, Olivia shouts a warning. Wide-eyed with terror, she watches the horrifying scene unfold. The memory contrasts the sweet, smiling child with the twisted, undead version of her. Olivia reaches out desperately as the memory of the innocent girl fades away. A soldier prepares to strike the zombie child, treating it as just an object. Olivia yells at him to stop and says he cannot harm the child. The subordinate turns back, confused by Commander Olivia's order. Shouting a warning, he is ambushed from behind by 2 zombie nuns. Buffeted, the soldier is bitten and cries out as Olivia watches in shock. Blood covers her face as she screams for it to stop. Darkness sweeps across the world, bringing the sounds of chaos and fear. She says she lost her platoon and couldn't save the children, so she resigned. Her father urges her to leave the past behind and accept the Prince of Nissel's proposal. A handsome prince enters, greets Olivia, and says he has been waiting for her. Promising his kingdom's wealth will support her family, he offers her this happiness. Olivia stares blankly, wondering what this supposed happiness really means. Accepting would be an honor, and she feels she simply must do it. To a listening Akihito, she explains how this trauma left her crippled by fear of the dark. At the end of her tale, she blames her immaturity for the tragedy. Akihito thanks her for sharing, but questions her engagement to the prince. With a pained, embarrassed look, she admits that this is her situation. He studies her closely, asking whether this is what she really wants. He insists that becoming a human sacrifice for her family is wrong. He brands the prince a villain, but she defends him as a kind man. Tearfully, she demands to know why Akihito is treating her so cruelly. Her sharp retort makes him flinch as he realizes he's overstepped. He apologizes for losing his temper over her family's debt-driven decision. She sighs, explains that's how noble marriages work, and tells him not to worry. Her eyes widen as she starts to speak, then hesitates. Passionately, he says he hates seeing her unhappy and wants her suffering to stop. Moved by his words, she turns away, her face flushed with emotion. She clenches her fist, thanks him, and says she cannot betray her parents. Akihito's face softens as he realizes he can't push her any further. He promises not to mention it again, relieved she confided in him. Suddenly, Olivia changes her demeanor and boasts that she is fine and still has her strength. With a comical flex, she says she'll fight if things get out of hand, leaving Akihito baffled. He let out a warm, relieved laugh, appreciating her attempt to lighten the mood. Joining in, her bright laughter fills the glowing cavern. Akihito's smile fades when a thought he cannot say crosses his mind. He wishes he could ask her to stay with him on the island. Olivia notices his silence and asks if something is wrong. Shrugging it off, he suggests they gather more of the valuable magic stones. Her eyes brighten at the idea. If money is the issue, they can fix it. She agrees eagerly, and they gather what they can carry. Bucci the Catman arrives, happy to have a bag for their haul. Olivia feels re-energized and is ready to collect souvenirs and even hunt for meat. Leaving, Akihito thinks about Olivia's remarkable string. Heavy scraping echoes from the dark cave entrance. A menacing shadow fills the tunnel as a new threat closes in on them. A dark, monstrous shape appears to fill the entire passage. They step into the light as Olivia announces she has found them. Proudly holding a large sack, she shows plump, pristine cave mushrooms. Akihito smiles, relieved the cave monster never showed up. Olivia holds the mushrooms and comments on their rich, pleasant aroma. When he jokes with her, she panics because she thinks he's talking about her smell. Laughing, he suggests leaving the mushrooms outside and finding a place to cook. Hidden in the shadows, an observer notices they also carry magic stones. Suddenly, a sharp sound from inside the cave makes them both jump. A heavy thud echoes, announcing the arrival of something large. A monstrous saber board rushes forward, its eyes glowing with malice. Both cry out in shock as the massive beast emerges. The boar plants its feet, its powerful body poised to charge. Olivia shoves Akihito aside and says she will take care of the monster. Power flares in her eyes as she activates her body enhancement skill. Drawing her sword in a blur, she prepares to meet the charge. The boar narrows its eyes and charges toward her with incredible speed. Steel rings against tusk as she blocks the attack. The sword shatters, unable to withstand the creature's immense power. Akihito stares in disbelief as he realizes Olivia has been completely overpowered. The blow's force sends her stumbling backward across the ground. She fights to keep her balance against the boar's relentless attack. Crying her name, he watches the creature shove her back with brute force. The boar's incredible speed and hard tusks catch her attention. Horror fills Akihito as they realize their situation is dire. He realizes Olivia's power won't work against this foe. A desperate idea hits him, and he can use his movement magic to escape. Focusing, he prepares to teleport them straight back to their camp. Magic starts to form, then fades into nothing. Both watch in confusion and alarm as the spell fails. A jolt of panic hits him when he realizes his magic is gone. Olivia yells for him to run as the board charges again, sure it will win. Akihito shoves her back, lifts his axe, and shouts that he must act. Straining against the boar, he groans that it is too strong. Unable to push it back, he yells for Olivia to save herself. Refusing to abandon him, she cries out in despair. Both stand frozen in utter terror. Knowing he can't hold on, Akihito begs her to run, but she screams his name. A new voice suddenly orders them to close their eyes and mouths. They recognize the voice, they obey, and squeeze their eyes shut in confusion. A massive explosion flashes, sending up a blinding light and a cloud of smoke. Bushi emerges from the haze and urges them to move now. Two minions pull their dazed friends to safety. Bucci tells them to climb a high rocky ledge to buy some time. Saluting proudly, he says he had a bad feeling and came to check on them. Akihito thanks them and rubs his eyes, which sting from the blast. Bucci reveals his secret weapon, a minion special pepper bomb, as the boar sneezes. High on a cavern ledge, Bucci says they need an escape plan. Akihito realizes his teleportation magic won't work, leaving him alarmed. Bucci apologizes and explains that the magic stones are interfering with his abilities. A deafening crash rolls through the air as the ground beneath them shakes violently. Enraged, the boar rams the rock wall, trying to knock their perch down. Bucci explains the boar's tactic, and Akihito realizes how precarious their situation is. Powerful repeated impacts knock the party off balance. Akihito decides they must find a weak spot, and Boogie suggests setting a trap. Akihito has a sudden idea when he recalls his unique skills. Using his pro of preparation skill, he focuses to analyze the beast and find a weakness. "I've found it," he says after finding the monster's weak spot. Olivia watches as hope returns to her face. Confidently, she tells Akihito that if all they need is an opening, he can leave it to her. Akihito watches the valiant Holy Knight prepare for battle. Bravely, Olivia jumps down to face the charging boar. Meeting the monster's ferocious charge, she counters with her own formidable power. The impact flings sparks and rocks in all directions. Her unexpected strength stuns the saber boar and sends it reeling. A powerful shockwave from their collision reverberates through the cavern. A massive blast marks the climax of their direct confrontation. Buchi cheers while Akihito lowers Olivia on a rope and explains the sparking magic stones. The minions call to Olivia, bravely serving as bait for the boar. Buchi trusts Olivia's strength and gives her the plan, and she accepts it readily. The massive boar shakes its head as it recovers from the stunning blow. It snorts furiously, steam billowing from its nostrils as it prepares to charge again. Buchi warns as the enraged beast charges toward their trap. Toma cries as Olivia pulls the tripwire taut, unleashing her advanced skill. The boar charges forward, its hooves catching the rope with a loud snap. Toma cheers in triumph as the trap springs shut, briefly stunning the beast. The minions shout to Akihito that the rest is up to him. Seeing the monster vulnerable, Akihito lunges forward with his skinning knife. He loudly calls on his ultimate support skill, Pro of Preparation. He charges toward the recovering beast with absolute focus. The dazed saber-bearer looks up, confused by the sudden turn of events. Akihito boldly slides right under a massive creature. His skill shows the boar is safe to eat, but its tough tusk must be removed first. Excited at the thought of meat, Olivia and the minions eagerly offer to help. Stunned and disoriented, the defeated saber boar lies on the ground. Back at the campsite, Akihito tends a warm, crackling fire. Everyone at the party feasts on skewered boar, loudly praising its flavor. Olivia calls the meal heavenly, and Akito agrees without hesitation. Buchi smiles, enjoying the simple pleasure of a good meal with friends. Akihito feels it's wonderful to share a meal with everyone and is grateful for their friendship. He thanks everyone for their help, and the minions thank him in return. Olivia looks at Akihito, her expression soft as she says his name thoughtfully. Buchi insists he only did the right thing, while Toma calls him a show-off. Buchi says Akihito is a warrior who always looks out for his friends. Akihito, moved by the word companions, gives them a warm, grateful smile. Laughing, he tells them to stop the embarrassing talk and just eat more meat. Remembering the magic stones, he sees many were broken in the fight. Holding up a handful of intact crystals, Olivia smiles and says they have more than enough. She is deeply grateful for him and their irreplaceable companions. Akihito agrees with a smile that they should return to the cave later to gather more. Buchi steps forward to help, joking that Akihito would be lost without him. Tama insists on coming along, not wanting Buchi to have all the fun. Akihito laughs, relieved that Tom is there to keep Buchi in line. Olivia covers her mouth to stifle a giggle at the minions' playful bickering. Akihito checks on Olivia, and she smiles, saying she's just getting some water. A sudden rustling in the bushes puts them on alert as they relax. A new figure watches them from behind a tree and says, "I've found you." A wolf-like samurai appears and names Olivia as his target. Her distinctive, swirling twin-tail hairstyle catches his eye. Hand on his sword, he says she is his master's enemy. Back at the camp, the celebration continues calmly. Olivia pours a refreshing drink into a bowl. Calmly sipping from the bowl, she closes her eyes in contentment. A soft, satisfied sigh escapes her. Calling to Akihito, she speaks as he grills skewers over the campfire. Beaming with pure bliss, Tama asked for seconds eagerly. Akihito teases Tama to stop overeating, but the minion insists he's fine. Tama says the meat tastes better when everyone works together. Akihito agrees to fetch another skewer for Butchai. The samurai watches from the shadows, certain a demon is deceiving the minions. Akito offers Olivia another skewer, and she politely declines. Bursting from the trees, the samurai vowed to punish the demon he saw. The sudden intrusion leaves Akihito and the minions stunned. Leaping into the air, the samurai challenges them to fight immediately. Akihito shouts Olivia's name in alarm as the warrior descends. Diving in front of Olivia, he blocks the samurai's katana with a frying pan. Steel striking iron rings out with a loud clang. Olivia thanks Akihito for protecting her and asks if he is okay. Angry, she faces the samurai, furious that he would attack Akihito. With a powerful cry, she releases her Vance skill and sends the samurai flying. Thrown through the air, the wolf warrior lands gracefully on his feet. Stunned, he stares at Olivia and her overwhelming power. His aggression instantly softens into infatuation, his eyes filling with hearts. Despite the minions' attempts to hold him back, he insists she is a fearsome demon in disguise. Even after they explain the situation, the samurai refuses to believe that humans are not demons. Akihito hopes the samurai, who knows Tama, can reason with him. Mocking Akihito's frying pan, the samurai dismisses everything he says. Growling, he declares that demons who prey on people are his master's enemy. As the man lunges, Akihito shoves a meat skewer into his mouth to silence him. Stunned, the samurai falls silent at the incredible taste and texture. Calmly, Olivia steps forward and suggests they eat and talk things over peacefully. The samurai is overwhelmed by the savory taste of the meat juices. He admires the wisdom of this strong, beautiful woman. Bowing deeply, he apologizes and introduces himself as Juan Yudo Noharu Kimi. Akihito says Kimi had heard rumors about a flesh-eating demon in the forest. Sighing, Butch and Thomas note Kimi's quick temper and troublesome ways. Grumbling, Kimi insists he was just trying to live peacefully with the minions. Kimi admits with deep remorse that he made a serious mistake and nearly killed an innocent man. In a dramatic gesture, he offers to commit seppuku until Olivia is appeased. To make peace, Akihito quietly offers a skewer of freshly grilled meat. Olivia beams asks Kimi if the food he is eating is delicious. Kimie, overjoyed, declares that Olivia's skewers are the best. Olivia smiles brightly and credits Akihito for all the cooking. Exchanging modest compliments, they each acknowledge how much the other helped. Quietly listening, Kimi wishes he could also learn to cook for Olivia. Olivia's compliments about Kimi's sword skills only seem to make him more agitated. Jealousy flares as he berates Akihito for his poor swordsmanship. Driven by rivalry, Kimi challenges a wary Akihito to another duel. Akihito refuses the pointless fight and calls Kimi out for being overly aggressive. Tama urgently tries to calm the two men while Olivia begins to feel unwell. The little cat is the first to notice her distress and asks what is wrong. Weakly, Olivia insists everything is fine as she starts to collapse. Akihito catches her as she loses consciousness, and Kimi cries out in alarm. Holding her limp form, he shouts her name as the minions watch in shock. Inside the tent, Tama keeps a quiet watch over the unconscious Olivia. They quickly fill a pot with water to help lower her fever. With care, Akihito carries the pot of cool water back toward the tent. Returning, he finds Tama, who tells him gravely that Olivia has a high fever. Kimi urgently demands answers, but Tama tells him to stay calm and quiet. A close-up frames Olivia's face, sweat beading from her raging fever. Akihito watches over her, his face a mask of deep worry. Tama thinks her illness is caused by exhaustion and says they must cool her down. Akihito brings water, and Tama lays a cool, damp cloth on her forehead. His immunity skill proves useless for helping her in this new world. He suddenly has an idea and gently puts his hand on her head. He casts a basic recovery spell in desperation, hoping it will be enough to help. Magic flows and a single tear rolls down her fevered cheek. Eyes fluttering open, she weakly calls his name as he leans over her. He apologizes for not noticing sooner, and she tells him she feels better. Reassuring him, she tells him not to worry as her eyes close. A violent coughing fit cuts her off, alarming everyone. Dread settles in as he realizes his magic is far too weak to cure her. When Kimi asks about medicine, Tama doubts that their remedies will work. Thomas suddenly remembers a legend about a panacea ingredient at the bottom of the lake. Grasping this new hope, Akihito demands to know where the lake is. Buchi warns them the area is deep and dangerous, a place even the minions avoid. Undaunted, Akihito vows to get the vital ingredient himself. Kimi studies Akihito, his face stern and unreadable. The samurai objects and insists he should be the one to face the danger. Akihito insists he'll be fine, confident his unique skills will keep him safe. His strongest motive is an intense desire to save Olivia. Guilt drives him, and he is determined not to have any more regrets about her safety. He insists he will go despite the danger. The minions are clearly moved by his steady determination to save their friend. Kimi seems to relent, but his expression remains stern and conflicted. By the foreboding lake, Kimmy turns the desperate rescue mission into a contest. Two rivals stand at the water's edge, tension crackling between them. Akihito doubts the need for a contest, while Kimmy challenges his confidence. Akihito says calmly that his sole motive is to save Olivia. Kimmy says he's serious too and sees Olivia as a kind benefactor. He says Akihito is weak, untrustworthy, and cannot protect her. Facing the final challenge, Kimmy dives into the water to start the race. Confidently, he calls out that he'll win easily as he swims away from shore. Akihito steels himself and remembers this is not a game. His first step brings him into the cold, dark waters of the mysterious lake. Determined to save Olivia, he plunges headfirst into the depths. Kimmy dives deeper to find the uniquely colored medicinal plant. Akihito powers through the water, his face set in pure determination. Without warning, an unseen force from the darkness below grabs Kimmy. A large hand clamps onto his leg and freezes him in the murky water. A violent tug sent him under, and he disappeared completely beneath the surface. Kimmy and his unseen attacker break the surface, sputtering and gasping for air. Akihito asks if he can't swim, but Kimmy explains he was pulled up from below. When Akihito asked what had grabbed him, Kimmy described it as a powerful current. A strange glint on the water draws Akihito's gaze. Kimmy's expression hardens as he senses a growing unseen danger. Kimmy warns Akihito that a dangerous presence lurks just below the surface. Bubbles rise as the creature moves along the bottom of the deep lake. Akihito peers into the depths and confirms something is down there. They both stare down, trying to imagine what creature hides below. Kimmy tells Akihito to give up and says he will dive in again alone. Akihito protests as a watery tendril shoots out and wraps around his ankle. The liquid tendril tightens its grip impossibly around his leg. Akihito plunges beneath the surface with a splash, leaving Kimmy shocked. Kimmy calls his rival's name, his face showing genuine alarm. Underwater, Akihito suddenly realizes something has seized him. A powerful unseen current drags him helplessly through the water. Two huge, monstrous fish surface and create a terrifying whirlpool. Frozen in horror, he realizes he is facing two monsters, not one. A powerful whirlpool churns the water and pulls everything toward its center. A monster opens its massive jaw and tries to suck him in. Its jaws snap shut like a heavy pincer, barely missing him. Barely avoiding the attack, he looks strained but relieved. A glow in the dark water suddenly catches his eye. He spots the glowing medicinal plant lying quietly on the lake bed. This must be the very ingredient they came here to find, he realizes. The tendril yanks him away from his goal and drags him back hard. Tangled in the monster's whiskers, he knows he must cut himself free. His air supply is running out fast, and deep panic sets in. Water's resistance slows his movement and makes it painfully difficult. Strength leaves him, and he feels himself giving in to the inevitable. With a flash of steel, Kimmy's sword severs the whisker and saves his life. Kimmy rushes through the water to save his rival from drowning. Grabbing him, the samurai pulls him quickly up toward the surface. Hands slap the rocky shore as they finally get out of the water. Worn out and battered, they both collapse to the ground, gasping for breath. Akihito thanks him, but Kimmy brushes it off gruffly, hiding his worry. Violent coughing racks Kimmy as she spits out lake water while Akito watches with concern. Blushing, the samurai wolf turns away and says his debt is now repaid. Akihito stares at his rival, moved by the honorable gesture, and calls his name. Deeply moved, Akihito thanks him profusely, but Kimmy brusquely pushes him aside. Kimmy says he will not fall for the same trap again and is ready to go on alone. Akihito is stunned and questions Kimmy's reckless plan to fight two monsters alone. Determined, Kimmy vows to succeed for Olivia, while Akihito insists a clear strategy is essential. Realizing the water is a major disadvantage, Akihito asks for a moment to think it over. Kimmy shouts there's no time, and Akito frantically searches his memory for a possible skill. After finding the underwater walking skill, he says it is their only hope. Fueled by fierce resolve, he learns the skill and proposes they fight together. Akihito's sudden suggestion to work together leaves the samurai wolf completely baffled. Akihito gains a skill and chooses to share its power with his rival. He says they can now breathe underwater for 4 minutes, but Kimmy is skeptical. Akihito urgently pleads with them to combine their strength for Olivia's sake. Kimmy pauses at the desperate plea, his proud face betraying a hint of sweat. Determined not to drown again, Kimi clenches his sword between his teeth and dives. The two rivals dive back into the dark, monster-filled waters. Underwater, Akihito is surprised to find he can breathe easily. Admiring how easily Kimi moves, he calls out to his new partner. Two monstrous fish loom before them, and Akihito warns they're here. The grotesque anglerfish monster emits a silent roar and charges at them. Kimi steps in front of the beast and says he will face it. The second monster, a giant catfish, strikes at Akihito with its long whiskers. Akihito cries out in alarm as the powerful monster hurls Kimi through the air. Giant catfish monster locks onto Akihito and charges forward. Using his knife, he cuts the whiskers, but they regrow almost instantly. He spots the glowing medicinal plant on the lake bed, close enough to touch but still out of reach. Kimiya tells Akihito to fetch the plant while he provides a much-needed distraction. Akihito can feel the pressure as the clock runs out, only a few minutes are left. His frustration grows as the monsters keep regrowing their whiskers. A brilliant idea hits him as he remembers his unique talent for preparation. Suddenly the monster's whisker ensnares Kimiya, and Akihito calls out his name in alarm. Kimi struggles with his wrist trapped as Akihito says he is on his way to help. Akihito suddenly realizes he needs to tangle the whiskers instead of cutting them. Closing in on the beast, he urges Kimi to hold on just a little longer. Determined, Akihito grabs the monster's powerful slimy whisker. Kimi is dragged helplessly toward the creature's gaping, tooth-filled mouth. The monster forms a powerful vortex that tries to drag the struggling samurai warrior in. Swept into the swirling water, Kimi desperately hopes to get out in time. Pushing through the current, Akihito focuses on getting to Kimi in time. Its mouth opens wide, ready to deliver the final fatal bite. Akihito uses his preparation skill to tie the monster's whiskers into a perfect bow. The monster releases its grip, and Kimi is suddenly freed. Freed from the whisker, Kimi tumbles helplessly through the dark water. Task finished, Akihito struggles with all his strength to swim back to the surface. Exhausted, they lie on the shore, gasping for air after somehow surviving the ordeal. On the rocky ground they lie, amazed they survived. Clutching the cure, he knows he must get it to Olivia immediately. Back at the camp, the tent stands silent among the dark, looming trees. Inside, the precious medicinal herbs are carefully ground to a fine paste. Lying down, Olivia gives a soft moan as her awareness comes back. Relieved, the beast cheers to see she's awake and the medicine worked. Kimi asks Olivia if she is okay, his voice tight with concern. Still weak, Olivia looks up and thanks them sincerely for their help. Scanning the room, she finally found Akihito and called his name. Akihito rushes to her side, his face showing complete relief. He beams with happiness, relieved the medicine worked, and she does too. She smiles at him, warm and reassuring, and says she feels fine now. He tells her not to move, and she happily agrees. Kimi watches their tender moment with a serious, thoughtful look. Watching her relieved smile, he sees how deeply she trusts Akihito. Akihito praises Kimi, saying Kimi looked cool facing the monster with his sword. Olivia says she couldn't have done it alone and expresses her heartfelt thanks. Flustered, Kimi tries to give the credit back, saying Akihito defeated the monster. Akihito smiles quietly as the two rivals share a silent understanding. Kimi mumbles to himself, still embarrassed by the praise and the group's warmth. Kimi vows never to forget his face as Akihito laughs and apologizes. Butcha and Tama tease Kimi about being unreliable, which shocks Akihito. Kimi reluctantly admits Akihito was helpful, but won't say it out loud. The samurai's reluctant praise touches Akihito, bringing a faint blush to his cheeks. Everyone else playfully swarmed them and told the two rivals to finally get along. At their quiet campsite, a simple tent sits tucked into the woods. Akihito looks at the bowl of fruit, thinking Olivia might be able to eat it. The minions thank him for sharing and say the vitamins will be good for her. Akihito knows she must recover, but food alone won't guarantee her future. Remembering the storm, he realizes life in tents is too insecure and unstable. He's determined to do everything he can to make sure she leaves the island healthy. The minions notice his sudden seriousness and ask him what he's thinking. For a moment he turns away from them, his mind set on his new plan. Spinning with a bowl in hand, he lays out his plan to update the tent. In another scene, a cat girl wearing glasses gives a confident thumbs up. Two young boys eagerly praise their cool big brother Hirotaka. With a smirk, Hirotaka promises to show them what it means to be a true adventurer. Akihito believes improving their living environment will help. Watching Olivia rest, he knows she really needs a better home. Determined, he is ready to build a home to protect against any threat. His friends stare in disbelief, sweat beads forming as he makes a sudden, intense declaration. Pointing to a large pile of logs, he says he'll use what Olivia gathered. The minions watch in amazement and ask if he can really build a disaster-proof house. Facing the pile of wood, he quietly considers the big task ahead. Doubt gnaws at him about his skills as the minions question his ambitious plan. Needing help, he opens his status screen to consult a professional. Camera sweeps across the island's thick, vibrant forest canopy. A sweet-looking female minion appears and offers to help the savior. Instantly charmed by her cuteness, Akihito smiles while Kimi watches, unimpressed. Tama interrupts, corrects him, and says this is the real Marin. Marin's face darkens as a menacing aura radiates from her. Taking charge, she becomes a fierce foreman and orders everyone to build the best house. Tama reveals her personality change, leaving Akihito stunned and confused. Cheerfully, Akihito offers to help Kimi and suggests they haul lumber together. Carrying a heavy log, Kimi stumbles and Akihito voices concern. Insisting he's fine alone, the samurai hears Akihito warn that he might fall. Annoyed, Kimi snaps at Akihito for being clumsy and tells him to be more careful. Shoving Akihito aside, he tells him to stay back if he's going to be useless. Walking in tense silence, Akihito assumes Kimi is angry with him. Kimi fumes to himself, frustrated he couldn't do more to help Lady Olivia. Akihito suddenly remembers that today he can use his special point roulette. He spins the roulette and lands a huge 32-point jackpot, bringing his total to 39. Leveling up also gave him powerful new subskills for building tents. He finds a new gold tier in his food gacha that is ideal for a celebration. Kimi gives him a deadpan look and finds his excited muttering creepy. Akihito eagerly shares his plan to bring delicious food to celebrate Olivia's recovery. All he wants is for her to get better and be happy. Kimi listens to him, his face serious and unreadable. The samurai asks Akihito whether he plans to live on the island with Olivia. Akihito says sadly that Olivia will return home and they cannot live together. Kimi angrily demanded to know why he won't go with her, but Akihito says her situation is complicated. Surprisingly concerned, Kimi asks if Akihito is really okay with this. Akihito admits he feels lonely, but Olivia's happiness matters most to him. Determined, he will make as many happy memories for her as he can right now. His sincere words leave Kimi flustered and speechless. The samurai mutters that he does not understand people, leaving Akihito confused. From the woods, Buki suddenly calls urgently to Akihito. Rushing up, Buchi explains that Marin is in trouble and needs his help right away. We move to their simple tent at the forest's edge. Marin, the minion architect, is worried they do not have enough lumber for the house. Akihito now realizes the project will take much longer because the building is so large. To speed up assembly, the Mayans offer to bring more people. Straining to hammer a large post, a Minion works while others hold it steady. Watching them work, Akihito suddenly gets an idea. Remembering the pile driver subskill, he decides to use it. He asked a minion to let him use a heavy wooden mallet to take over. Gripping the mallet, he prepares to unleash the power of his new skill. Using his skill and body enhancements, he drives the mallet down with tremendous force. A single blow drives the post deep into the ground, stunning the minions. Akihito says triumphantly he can now finish the work instantly and is glad to help. Dominion cheered, excited that the work will now go much faster. Grudgingly, Kimi watches and admits that such a feat is to be expected from his rival. Akihito calls out to Kimi and asks for a favor only a samurai can do. Reluctantly, Kimi huffs and agrees, while a nearby Mayan smiles knowingly. Akihito stands before a large tree, axe in hand, ready to address the lumber shortage. With a practiced, powerful motion, he swings his axe. Using his camping skills, he has clearly gotten better at cutting down trees. The huge tree groans and starts to fall with a loud crack. After Akihito asked for Kimi's help, the samurai accepts the challenge with determination. Kimi draws his katana and cuts in a blur of impossibly fast slashes. A second giant tree topples, cut down by the samurai's expert swordsmanship. Amazed by their perfect teamwork, the minions smile while Kimi brushes off the praise. The minion gripping a hammer feels their fighting spirit ignite. Marin rallies the team, urging them to build the whole house in one go. Minion Village comes together in a busy, cheerful construction scene. On his break, Akihito shares a meal with his cheerful, hardworking new friends. The scene shifts to a calm, starry night in the dark forest. Inside the tent, a figure slowly wakes from a long, deep sleep. They stretch their arms and finally wake up after days of recovery. Olivia sits up and wonders how long she's been asleep. Vague, dreamlike memories remain of Akihito and Tama caring for her. Hearing a commotion, she opens the tent flap to see what is happening. An incredible sight greets her, a finished log cabin and cheering minions. Olivia stares, unable to believe what she sees. Toma hurries to her side, smiling and asking if she is awake and okay. The minions crowd around and tell her they built a safe house where she can rest. They tell her happily that building the house was entirely Akihito's idea. Tears fill Olivia's eyes when she realizes this incredible gift was made just for her. Her emotional moment is interrupted when she notices something unusual. She finds two odd, roughly carved wooden statues depicting her and Akihito as saviors. The minions insist the statues are absolutely necessary and extremely important. Akihito hurries over, relieved and happy that Olivia is awake at last. He gently reminds her not to overdo it while she's still recovering. Olivia, tears in her eyes, asks how she could ever thank him for the house. Smiling warmly, he tells her not to worry and to focus on resting. Quickly, he reassures her that the house has two separate rooms for their privacy. Akihito proposes moving the strange statues, but the minions object loudly. A follower says it is an honor to openly praise their savior. Akihito is sweating nervously, visibly embarrassed by the excessive display of affection. Olivia covers her mouth and whispers that she is truly happy and so very grateful. Her face lights up when she says meeting everyone has made her really happy. Her heartfelt, emotional words move Akihito and the minions. Bursting into cheers, the minions announce a party to celebrate the new house. Smiling, Akihito is swept up in the joyful, festive atmosphere. He offers to cook for everyone and suggests a beach barbecue with ice cream. To show her gratitude, Olivia insists on helping him cook. Akihito decides it's the perfect time to use his special food gacha. Choosing the gold tier, he hopes to find something truly special for the party. EBOX appears with a fine bottle of wine and a selection of snacks. He announces he's hit the jackpot, while Olivia watches in wide-eyed amazement. Toby the sea lion arrives with a big catch of fish, and Olivia praises the good spot. Her hair in pigtails, Olivia happily presents perfectly grilled fish on skewers. The whole found family enjoys a joyful barbecue in the forest clearing. Smiling broadly, Olivia says eating with everyone is fun and delicious. Akita watches her, quietly content to see her so happy. He tells himself her smile is what matters most to him. A bittersweet thought hits him, and he wishes they could stay together forever. He knows it's an impossible dream, but he still finds himself wishing for it. Far on the horizon, a large ship sails toward their island. The majestic galleon slices through the waves, steadily approaching the shore. On the ship's deck, the Prince of Nissel commands his men to search the islands. Staring out at the sea, he vows to find Olivia, certain she is still alive. A confident, possessive smile spreads as he announces he is coming for his bride. A majestic galleon cuts through choppy waters toward a distant mountainous island. High in the crow's nest, a lookout scans the shoreline through his spyglass. He sees a pack of grotesque, multi-eyed devil rats among the rocks. High above the deck, the lookout calls out a warning about the many monsters. Officials inform the Prince of Nissel that they cannot confirm any signs of humans on the island. He gives a firm order to abort the landing and steer clear of the dangerous shore. An officer tells the prince it will take several days to reach the next island. The prince regrets the delay, but believes Olivia is waiting safely for him. Fist clenched, he imagines his beloved as a frail girl, suffering alone. Clutching his chest in theatrical pain, he is sure she is waiting for him to rescue her. "Wait for me, Princess Olivia," he bellows in a heroic voice as his ship sails away. The royal galleon sails on across the vast, empty ocean. On the island, Olivia cheerfully asked who wanted more ice cream. Delighted minions cheer and eagerly form a line for another serving. After Akihito says he's had enough, Olivia offers to take over serving duties. Smiling warmly, he playfully insists on scooping her a bowl first. Zakihito happily serves a minion, while Olivia watches him with a fond expression. Holding her bowl, she keeps her gaze on Akihito in quiet thought. A joyful scene unfolds outside their new log cabin. Around them, the minions are blissfully enjoying their frozen treats. Bucci approaches a thoughtful Olivia and asks what she seems to be thinking about. Smiling, Akihito says everyone can enjoy this wonderful time thanks to him. Olivia admits she always depends on Akihito and wants to do something for him. Bucci suggests she should get him a present in that case. The word present hits Olivia like lightning, and her eyes widen. Later, very drunk Kimmy eagerly offers Olivia a bottle of wine. Already tipsy, Olivia agrees and says they should forget etiquette for the night. From a distance, Akihito watches, pleased to see Olivia enjoying herself so freely. The next morning, Akihito stretches and admires the beautiful sky. Recalling his adventures, he describes meeting Olivia and battling giant centipedes. A small smile crosses his face as he realizes how steadily he and Olivia have grown closer. He's glad he could help Olivia enjoy herself. A sudden massive boom snaps him out of his thoughts, and he wishes this peace could last. Turning in shock, a bead of sweat on his face, he tries to figure out what happened. He stares at the huge crater, where the forest has been completely wiped out. Terrified, he tries to imagine what might have caused such destruction. Olivia, unsteady and still drunk, stumbles out of the cabin toward him. Grinning goofily, she asks Akihito to join her for a drink. Akihito asks Kimmy if Olivia is drunk, but the samurai is too ashamed to answer. During a flashback, drunk and pouting, Olivia asked why Akihito wouldn't drink with her. Saying she is sad, she unleashes a catastrophic burst of magical energy. A few days later, life on the island has begun returning to normal. Two minions greet each other and comment on how spacious and pleasant Akihito's room is. They peek into the new log cabin, eyes wide with wonder. Kimmy tells a worn-out Akihito what happened while he was passed out from drinking. He sternly warns Akihito never to let Lady Olivia drink alcohol again. A pot of soup bubbles cheerfully on the stove in their new home. Kimmy sits at the table, impatiently asking Akihito whether dinner is ready. As Olivia prepares to eat, Kimmy gruffly refuses to acknowledge Akihito's cooking. He suggests they settle down somewhere, but says he'll eat only for today. Olivia's eyes brighten as she hesitantly asks if they could go to the cave. Akihito agrees at once, because a trip to the cave seems like a great idea. Olivia cheers with delight as Kimmy grumbles that she should at least help with the meal. Determined, Olivia sets out to find a great gift for Akihito. Three stand at the mouth of a dark cave, beside a strange cat-shaped statue. Kimmy complains the statue isn't bronze, while Olivia wonders why Akihito would like it. Inside, Akihito sees Olivia looking dazed and asks if she is all right. She asked him to wait while she steadied her nerves against the darkness. Akihito gives her a gentle, understanding look. This is the perfect time to use the points he's been saving. With a flash of light, he calls up 3 powerful headlamps from his menu. Olivia watches the lights in amazement and says it's great to have her hands free. Akihito decides to learn a new skill before they go any deeper. Now confident, Olivia energetically says they should get going. Akihito watches her bounce excitedly, noticing how upbeat she is. He warns her not to go too far because they don't know what lies ahead. Kimmy retorts that Akihito is more likely to fall into a trap. Scanning the cave walls, Olivia looks for a good gift. Not knowing his taste, she is determined to find something that will make him happy. The crude cat statue signals they are entering the level 3 danger zone. Gripping his axe tightly, Akihito warns his companions to stay alert for monsters. From high above, Olivia notices a faint glimmer of light in a dark crevice. She starts scaling the sheer rock face, moving with surprising grace and agility. At the ledge, she finds a single beautiful glowing magic stone. Holding the crystal, she admires its graceful shape and soft glow. Smiling contentedly, she thinks it would be a perfect match for Akihito. A dark, menacing shadow suddenly falls over her from behind. From below, Akihito sees her on the ledge and calls her name. His face tightens and his eyes go wide in sudden horror at what he sees. From the shadows, a monstrous skeletal spider emerges behind unsuspecting Olivia. Startled by Akihito's cry, she turns, clearly confused. Akihito's eye twitches as his unique skill triggers, bringing a sudden flash of insight. His edibility judgment skill shows the bone spider is poisonous and pinpoints its weakness. Spotting the vital thread, he yells to Kimmy to cut it. Kimmy roars and charges his body with magic as he leaps into the fray. He orders Olivia to get down and calls the monster a foul beast. The samurai moves in a blur, slashing his katana at the creature's limbs. High above, Kimai warns Akihito that the monster is about to fall. Akihito steadies himself, increasing his strength and reaction speed. His axe blade gleams as he prepares to strike a powerful blow. Leaping, he drives his axe with immense force, shattering the spider's skull. From the ledge, Olivia and Kimmy watch as the monster finally collapses. As rocks start to fall, Akihito rushes to shield Olivia from the debris. Leaning over her, he asks if she is okay while his headlamp smokes. Their headlamps glare into each other's faces, and both flinch. Kimmy points to the exposed rock wall and asks what they have uncovered. Akihito finds a vein of pink gold rock salt and says they're lucky to have found it. He excitedly tells subdued Olivia and us about the delicious food they can now make. Close by, Kimmy happily chews on one of the spider's discarded bones. Olivia presses a hand to her chest and admits the bone broth smells delicious. Feeling guilty, Olivia apologizes for her reckless behavior and the trouble she caused them. Akihito snaps his fingers decisively and announces he will use a newly learned skill. He summons a bright dimensional storage vortex and cheerfully tells them to put everything inside. Gleefully, they toss in heavy rock salt, celebrating the convenient new power. Having stowed their treasures, the group decides it's time to leave the cave for a break. Victorious, Kimmy proudly carries a bone from their big catch. A frantic Butcheye rushes toward them, shouting that something terrible has happened. He points toward the coast in horror, showing that a massive human ship has arrived. Stunned, Akihito and Olivia fall silent as they accept that their happy times are over.